So hello everyone. It took a while to fix the audio, but now here we are as we go back into some Division 2 action here. As we already covered the quarterfinals in a previous stream. We aren't through with Division 1, but there's still a good bit more of WARNO League Season 5 to come here. And we're gonna continue with the semifinals from Division 2 with Pasta La Vista versus Aim Doozy. And that should be a pretty fun one, starting here on Izura. And the matchup, a pretty classic mechanized versus mechanized matchup, though with a new division here. And what is your experience? Have you played by now against the second Guards Tank Corps? Alright.
I have played wait, no, I actually haven't played against it. I tried to play a game of it yesterday on stream, but then real life interrupted my stream before it started. So I built the deck. Protoss bought my loyalty in bought my vote for 6.3 by donating the home defense DLC to me. So of course I changed into supporting the instructor division, as you should as well, because it does seem to be, in my very unbiased and unbought opinion, that I changed after being bribed. It does seem like the best.
Yeah, it is a pretty good new tool. I think the instructor tool is quite interesting, and the divisions in it are quite unique as well. Instead of more T72 plus BMP2 slop, if you want to use the word slop somewhere in the debate.
No.
But let's get back into the action here. So we have a mechanized division with T72s on the right side, as per usual currently in WARNO. T72s, it has T64s as well though. And on the left side, we have the classic Leo 185 plus Martyrs plus Jägeraufklärer and Fernspeer kind of formation that you would expect out of the classic Pif Panzer. Who do you think has the upper hand in this matchup on this specific map?
Well, currently, if you look at the deployment here, Pasta La Vista playing 5th Panzer is not bringing out any heavy tanks. There are 3 Leopard 1s, but no Leopard 2s, which is kind of the more aggressive pick, considering the 3 Leopard 1s can be at 3 places at the same time and also have significantly better HE than just investing all of those points into 1.5 proper main battle tanks. But Aim Juicy that does outgun the opener, and the T-72B1 is capable of fighting all of those Leopard 1A5s unless they attack it very closely. The Rapiras and the defensive Metis deployments, as well as the Razvedka BMP-1s with their Fagot missiles. All of these are getting, deployed pretty defensively. So this is going to be, the game is going to open with Pasta basically having the ability to define what's going to happen. And Pasta really needs to get into an engagement without immediately driving into the Rapira and the T-72 fire, because losing the tank force early on without getting the kill on the T-72B1 would be a big issue, because then Aim Juicy could follow the defensive opener by trading up and then just starting to buy out the excellent tank tab of second Tamanskaya. Now, Pasta also, if Pasta actually manages to keep up aggression, Pasta could just start buying Leopard 2s, and Leopard 2s without the T-72s having great numbers are absolutely the better tank. They're great at micro, and they're fast, and they're reliable, and they get first shot accuracies excellent. And but here we can see Fernspeer are deploying into spotting distances, opposing GSR Recon Spetsnazvedka also trying to get into a spotting distance, and with 2 Jägeraufklärer squads and 3 Luxes actually, Pasta is now trying to actually start out this. And yeah, first minute buy coming out of Pasta, immediately a Leopard 2A3. Correct choice, in my opinion. Pasta not trying to get into the zone, the contested zone at Delta, or the red zone at Delta, which I think is probably the smart choice early on. And currently, with so much of defenses being set out on a wider front line for Aim Juicy, Pasta's forces are going to be engaging a small sliver of this force, and in the T-72 is currently not in position to actually do anything. And yeah, so far so good for Pasta.
Yeah, and we have seen this map being deceptively about the clash in the middle, but in reality, usually being about whoever wins the flanks gets the better trades. And that is kind of what is going on here right now in the north. Pasta trying to push into the northern point and trying to get the buildings and the forests there under control, but MDUC has a sizable defensive force there, including a really well-positioned Rapira that makes the life of the pushing in Luxus and the Leo ones a good bit harder, though 3 Leo ones together can overwhelm the Rapira with a single salvo, so you have to be careful there, but that's where the BMP and the T-72 come in as well. So good defense so far from AMDUZ, both sides not taking any real losses just yet, but the Leo ones already hit pretty hard, so they have to be careful to not just get shredded here now.
Yeah, the Pasta's weakness was that the Jaeger Outlier squad doing the attacking were zero vet, and zero vet units can't really do that kind of attack, especially not under fire. Leopard 2A3 is getting in here, and Pasta has managed to keep the vehicles alive, losing the first looks here, and a wounded Leopard probably wants to start retreating here. So far, not a catastrophe on any size, and we can see if the Leopard 2 is going to do something. Meanwhile, MJuice is doing a counterattack with these BTR-80s. BTR-80s being very expensive relatively, but having 2 side armor and 2 front armor, more than enough to deal with those 20mm cannons. And yeah, meanwhile, MJuice is just using the transport vehicles and successfully counterattacking. This is like Pasta not having a single tank or a proper defense, only just some flak cannons and recon. Yeah, those 35-point BTR-80s seem to be a very value buy.
Yeah, and the great mix of the second Guards mechanized division is that it has those BTRs and the BMPs. It has IFVs and armored personnel carriers that are wheeled and fast. And the BTR-80 being the best of the bunch. It has smoke launchers, it has double MGs, so it can deal, for example, with units like this BO-105 here relatively efficiently, and get the shutdown there. One of them got killed off by the BO-105, a small little anti-tank helicopter, but the second one was too much, and that forces a unit like the Leo 283 to rotate from the north to the south, meaning that Pasta's push in the north is relatively dead, and they're already 2 heavy tanks reinforcing into the north for MDUZ, so chances of Pasta getting into the zone there are pretty slim, but he still has the slight concave in the north, and concave beats convex, so the counter concave of MDUZ in the south has to work out as well.
Yeah, Pasta is buying a lot of these Leopard 2A3s, which is you want to have the numbers on the Leo 2s right now, because if you don't, the enemy is going to transition into the really super heavy stuff. And even though you get like maximum of 4 of them, realistically, Tamanskaya only gets maximum of 2 if they are taken at veteran C1. But even those two T80UDs are a huge issue. And yeah, right now, Pasta is really losing on the infantry front. Fire supremacy just isn't enough without a bunch of martyrs to actually deal with fortified infantry. But AIM-Juicy has the Motoros Vedka and the Guardates in pretty suboptimal locations. Is the martyr getting shot down by the Rapira here. And so far, yeah, AIM-Juicy buying all of those heavy tanks into fortifying the north kind of has taken the wind out of his sails. Akatsya and a more expensive gunship, Mi-24V, coming out here, which will be able to just kind of hold the front line. But so far, AIM-Juicy also not managing to properly capitalize on breaching Echo.
Yeah, and the Leo 2A3 and the Mada 1A3 pushing through the south here now for Pasta La Vista, as AIM-Juicy didn't rotate the tanks, as you said, quickly enough, and the Rapira was a bit outgunned there. Its penetration not quite enough to deal with those heavy Leopard 2A3 heavy tanks that the West German 5th Panzer Division can bring around. So the T-72Bs here and the T-64s are needed to deal with them, and we have seen how Leo 2A3s can snowball in a matchup like this in the WARNO Division, the Division 1 finals, where we saw T-72s nearly breaking Mix-90, and then Mix-90 started to roll it back on 3-4 Leo 2s. So AIM has to be careful to not allow the enemy to get too many Leo 2A3s here bit by bit. We already have 3 on the front line. He needs to start taking some of them out, or at least holding positions where they have to push into you instead of them being able to just play a free game in the middle of the map.
Yeah, the Mi-24V wasting 3 of its Kokon missiles already, which is a nice small victory for Pasta. Pasta seems to be concentrating with all of the reinforcements and now even infantry reinforcements coming out here in the middle. Pasta seems to want to continue the attack in the northern flank, but without an artillery piece to destroy the Rapiras, or a proper formation of infantry to actually find the enemy, I don't think it's going to be happening in the moment. Yeah, I think Pasta also is moving, repositioning a bunch of these units away from the northern attack. Leopard 2 taking some front shots against AIM-Juice's missiles. The problem with the Leopard, the whole southern flank really, is that Pasta has absolutely no recon there. First Bear is going to move and try to deploy, but that Leopard really should not be there without recon to actually give it something to shoot at. Now, another 0-vet Jaeger Aufklärer and a Veterancy 1 Panzergrenadier are now trying to contest the middle zone, but AIM-Juice's Guardezi are moving in with the BTR-80s. Guardezi, being resolute units, basically get the stress resistance of a unit with 1 Veterancy more than they do. So Veterancy 1 resolute unit kind of basically has Veterancy 2 stress resistance, etc. So in practice, Pasta's units being smaller and AIM-Juice's units having resolute, Pasta needs to have the mechanized component constantly engaging in the fight. Otherwise, the infantry is just going to get bursted down, as we can see happening here right now. Akatsiya has been firing so far, and Akatsiya out here is also kind of discouraging large infantry buys from Pasta. Now, Pasta is bought already 2 Panzermersers, and the Panzermersers will be able to shut off the 2 flanks, the area north and south of the contested red zone right now. Is it Delta? I can't see which zone it is. Delta,
There's finally also a tank dying again. Pasta has been really good at preserving the tanks. Yes, he's losing the infantry, but the infantry is mostly replaceable when it at least comes to points. Slot-wise, as a Panzer division, as the heavy tank division, you don't get endless numbers of infantry, but they are still really cheap. Panzer Grenadiers are only a 6-man squad. They cost you only 35 points. So as long as you keep the Leo 2s alive, and as long as you have some infantry in the late game to spot for them, that mechanized ball is the real danger. So finally taking out at least some Leo 1A5s again is pretty important, but AIM-Juice has lost a good couple of BMP2s, has lost the T-64 in the north. His Rapiras have been reduced a bit as well, so he has to be careful. Ooh, but finally,
the wasn't moved.
The Akatsiya finds the kill there. Finally, one important leopard kill here for AIM-Juice. Those are the kills that he needs right now to stop the ball from getting up. Gets another Leopard 2 here routed. Can he find a consecutive shot on it? It doesn't seem to be the case. It can break line of sight here and disengage away, but the situation here in the middle, not great for Pasta. But AIM-Juice also has to find a place, and maybe the south is it again, to put pressure on the zone of Pasta La Vista as well.
Yeah, but AIM-Juice has now advanced to the next tech level. 10 minutes in, we have the T-80U OBR-89, the 21 armor, 21 penetration, 25 penetration missile with 2,800 meter range, arguably maybe the best tank in the game, also 65 kph, also 11 health, and it even has smoke, which is, not all pack tanks do. And yeah, that tank is now going to be the main driving force here because it can contest every single tank Pasta is putting out here. Pasta basically needs, even with the Leopard 2s, either needs significant numbers to stun down the T-80U and force it to retreat, or, and even then the gun's autoloader will be able to keep the firing rate up for the T-80, or alternatively, try to get really close to get some kinetic penetration hits. And Pasta, so far, being 100 points behind, having lost not significant amounts of troops, but having lost a lot of tempo. The enemy runs an OSA, has 2 Akatsiyas, a fighter, and also the better tanks, and also a wide front line successfully. also leading in the tank kills. Pasta still has a lot of units here, and just needs to get some big plays going. And I think one of the reasons why people maybe dislike Isura is that it is a very straightforward map, and these kinds of very close trench fighting moments that we can see right now are pretty common on this map, especially between armored divisions. And it's kind of like two lakes. If two lakes only had a single zone, basically. But fortunately, these sight lines in this map are way more complicated than something like two lakes. So I think that it is possible to keep pushing here. And I think the safest way that we can see AIM-Juicy do right now is to just put infantry and the Spetsnaz Vedka recon units in positions where they can spot enemy tanks, and then the Akatsias deal the damage. Now, here comes Pasta's big play. The smoke mortar already firing. Wait, this is the smoke mortar? Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, the smoke mortar smokes first the northern flank, then the middle flank, and probably also the southern flank at some point. And that should allow the numbers of martyrs and leopards to actually get in position and start getting some kills. Now,
yeah, but I feel like both sides here once more don't quite understand the map yet, though. Like, as you said, the middle here, that feels like two lakes. But the big part where we saw every single time the KD really going up is with side shots on this map. And side shots you get by flanking. And both sides here not really playing the flanks at all. Like, there are no ATGM launchers on either side, really. There is no push through the southern forests from the red side, which often can work out to isolate the echo point. There is no flank through the northern buildings or through the far north by the blue side to isolate the Charlie or Delta point. So in the end, it's the meat grinder thing, and the meat grinder thing doesn't really work out on this map in the long run. Whoever gets the side shots usually wins the trades and usually wins the game in the long run. And that is, I feel like, the big problem here for both players right now, because they look at the middle and they feel like they have to grind here, but like there is no real objective to victory. It's just a massive blob, and that massive blob is running into another massive blob, and usually the defensive massive blob has the advantage. And the MiG-21 cluster and the MiG-21 HE here coming in for the big tank blob.
Oh no.
If the cluster gets stopped though, should have come the other way around maybe. HE first and then the cluster, but the HE does drop at least. Doesn't really get a kill though, so a bit of a waste of two good planes, as the tank blob does return here. Leo 2's now under fire though, but they don't have a direct line of sight on too many of the enemy tanks. 1 T-72 here gets hit. The OBR hasn't gotten involved yet because it doesn't have any line of sight just yet. The smoke has worked out decently well so far for the Panzermörser, but the Akatsias tried to target it again, targeting the Roland now as well to stop the air umbrella against future MiG-21s. And there comes the push, but the Panzer Grenadiers not trading well so far.
Yeah, the first pair loss in the south, massive loss for Pasta. Pasta just lost a bunch of really important intelligence, and Leopard 2 in the front line here is basically doing the spotting right now. The Pasta is getting Pioneer Carl Gustavs at 0 vet. That's a 55-point unit. It's pretty expensive for a 0 vet unit, but at least it means that there is some amount of meat in this deck of Pasta's. Pasta's vehicles so far are getting decent kills, but AIM-Juicy is just microing it around. AIM-Juicy's better infantry is winning all the infantry fights, but the martyrs are compensating for this. Now AIM-Juicy is moving the tanks up north into a more aggressive position, and Pasta's infantry recon is actually could spot all of this, but the first pair is in just the wrong position to do that, or cannot do that. And no leader units are getting out here. 2 wounded leopards, 3 wounded leopard actually are retreating already. And yeah, this is a concave, a bad concave for Pasta.
Yeah, he got luckily a bit of line of sight advantage for a while thanks to the smoke in the middle. So he did kill a couple of enemy infantry as well, but he loses a Leo 2A3 now on the retreat. The T-80U finally getting a good line of sight on a side shot and finishing off one of the Leo 2A3s. None of the heavy tanks on the other side have fallen. The only things that died were 2 BMP2s. Those are at least nice kills, but they don't quite compensate for the loss of a Leo 2A3 here. But Stefan Speer is in the north now, under attack as well. And yeah, Pasta might have overextended here. Should have played a bit more for the side, especially I feel like the northern side of the map. That is usually the way you get the concave as the blue side, while it's usually through the south and the southern forest. The red side can get a line of sight advantage, but it was actually Ameduzi's TADU pushing a bit forward in the north that got the side shot that finished off the Leo 2A3. And now Pasta still 100 points behind, and now also behind in points. His infantry starts to run low here. He still has to bridge 22 minutes to the end of the game, and his infantry tab already is likely hurting at this point, because that was quite a bit of heavy infantry losses that he took there.
Yeah, that was I mean, it was a basic attack in that, it's smoke and the tank blow up and infantry to push, but it was also very predictable. And Ameduzi's defenses here were more than enough to just deal with all of this. And now with Ameduzi having the rocket helicopter here, being able to fire ATGM, so very long ranges, the counter attack happening down south with the T1 Biryusa, 1 T72, and some recon infantry, probably have to basically. Oh no, Pasta has side shots here, fortunately.
Yeah, the Milan launcher did a good job. It usually pushing a bit too deep there. Not quite getting enough firepower online. The Prius at least will get a bit more help, but gets taken out by the Fuchs Milan. That's what the side shots are for, and he gets another one with the Leo 2s in the north, so the push of Ameduzi fails because it is too direct as well. And Pasta, with some Leo 2 smoke action, at least got the tick back online to a +1. That is unlikely to get him into the lead, but at least will get the gap a bit smaller, and this was already a pretty small gap at the beginning. And TADU now pushing in with only one Guardizzi as a support. The Spetsredka, the T-72s, and co all left behind. That is really dangerous play there by Ameduzi. He should get more support in there. At the same time, Martyrs get chewed up in the middle. Leo 2A3s overextending maybe a bit as well. Another one of them in risk. They are fast on the retreat, so they fall back here. But they both get chewed up quite heavily. They both get stressed out, so they won't be combat efficient for a while. And Ameduzi gets full control back, is still 50 points in the lead, and has a bit more time here to reset the whole front line.
Yeah, Pasta can see that TATU right now. The TATU is retreating, and yeah, really just showing a huge weakness basically in Pasta's front line. So many points being spent into the mobile mech forces, and just lacking in a lot of the fundamentals, a lot of the Outclarer squads and all of them. Tornado IDS gets buzzed off before it manages to drop off its weapons, also getting shot by the MiG-29. MiG-29 pushed back by the Roland, so no immediate air control from either side, but of course Pasta really wants those planes more, considering the T-ATUs are so difficult to kill with any other way.
Yeah, Panzermörser goes down to the Acacia, so the potential of these smoke walls gets reduced a bit. Ameduzi there with good usage will try to get the next Roland 3 killed as well with the Acacia's next salvo. Whilst the second TADU with 1 vet comes onto the battlefield, that is the last one that he will get. With taking them at 1 vet, you only get 2, 1 per card. And T64 AK goes down in the south, so that's a bit unfortunate. The smoke plays a bit of a role in that, allowing the Leo 2s to single that unit out. And we have another Pioneer Carl Gustav push in the middle. 10 hit point units, so they are pretty chunky, but the infantry is better on the other side. And they likely not gonna have a great time in these fights, especially as they come once more without AA. And the V-24V rocket has done a pretty decent job for Ameduzi, giving him soft fire support, plus also stunning down the tank here and there with its Kokon missiles, doing a bit of damage, and it continues doing so. The CV pushes in with this, so 40 points difference now only, but CV of Ameduzi is ready to move forward to retake the zone. It's unlikely that Pasta will even get the lead ahead, as the Bellejour is starting to move in again, but he at least has closed the gap a bit further again, though under a lot of losses. Leo 2A3 in the south goes down. the Roland 3 also got shut down by the artillery because he wasn't microing there. And the infantry push here in the center is just not working out. Belajor now moving in. It's only 20 points difference now. And until the point is captured, it will be even less than that. But I believe it will still be AIM-Duty with just a couple points more. And with also way better trades here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second Tamanskaya was taken as a counter pick, so Aim Juicy has that going on for him right now, and also it seems it is also just a heavier division, so the inherent advantage in having the T-ATUs is a big deal, but like it seems like on this map, like the first skill check is, can you build these defensive front lines? And the second more difficult skill check is, can you bypass them? Breaking these concaves, especially against the heavier division, kind of requires an early big tempo hit to the enemy. Like the early opener attack from Pasta could have worked and it should have worked, and that could have maybe put Aim Juicy on a back foot. But now that this front line is built, it seems to be very difficult to fight this off conventionally. And when I mean conventionally, I mean smoke mortars, Leopard 2 blobs, and infantry assaults. And what do you think should be done? Is it straight up just go and try to get into the back point of Alpha, wait 2 minutes and reinforce with a bunch of infantry and Milan 2s, and then take all the tanks and do a little side swipe to the back point? What needs to be done here?
Yeah, I feel like a big play with the tanks is needed, and the center zone, as you pointed out, is just not that. It's just too short. The line of sights are too dangerous, especially for Leo 2A3s, with side shots just opening up too much.
No,
and there goes another one. Alouette goes down with it, and now the tank formation doesn't have the oomph in it anymore, especially seeing as AIM-Duty still has both of the T-ATUs ready, has a couple of T-64s and T-72s as well, and still can reinforce with more. BP2s here is giving enough ATGMs that are, with the Cocon, with the Conquerors, not quite deadly to the Leo 2A3s, but helping out, stunning them down, and making them combat inefficient, and that's all you need to do to them. As long as you keep them busy, occupied, repairing, that is okay, as long as you don't lose too many units to them. And with the amount of forces that AIM-Duty has here, he can rotate out of the front line and deny kills to the enemy quite effectively, especially with the T-ATUs. And the T-ATU here gets another couple of kills in the north, Martyr and Panzergrenadier going down in the same second. Another T-72 coming up, another one behind, another two actually behind that. Plus on the other side, we get another Leo 2A4C, but yeah, they're just not what you need here right now in the middle, especially with how little recon support they have here, as you pointed out earlier. That was one thing that Mix90 did pretty well. He always knew when to move the Leo 2s and where he could move them. He even had to dodge a lot of artillery around it, but he always got them around to find a spot where he could get a couple of kills and then get off again. And Pasta is more using them as fire support, and that's not quite the role of the Leo 2A4 and 2A3s. They don't have a heavy MG. They don't have the best frontal and side armor, so you usually want to use them with their great gun that has great penetration for their cost and good accuracy, or great accuracy as well, and run in, shoot, and then use their good speed to disengage again and get the hell out of there.
Yeah, and we the short distances on this map are kind of deceiving, because what AIM Juicy is showing, that having a wide front line of Motorasvedkas and Rasvedkas and Spetsrasvedkas basically means that any time Pasta has a tank a little bit too close to the front line, something, either a T-ATU or a helicopter or the artillery, can just go and take the kill and then run back. The short distances also mean that the retreat time is very small. And this is something where, as you said, the Leopard 2 should be the ones doing this stuff. But the Pasta's Jaeger front lines, or the Jaeger Aufklärers and Recon front lines, are just weaker because they have to be on the attack. And when they're on the attack, they're very valuable targets to try to snipe out.
Yeah. Leo 2A3 moving around in the south, T-72, B1 rotating in the north. We have the B1 they're getting some shots around as well. Well, Sapira tries to retaliate, gets a good hit against the Jaguar. The T-72 shouldn't be there on its own right now. There are 2 Leos pushing forward, but it's holding out surprisingly well so far. The other Leo not able to get a shot out just yet. Tornado Cluster Bomber do get their bombs dropped off this time around, and one T-72 finally goes down here. The CV actually gets in the center and actually gets the capture on here. So now Pasta La Vista is in the position that Pasta La Vista wanted to get in, and what he pushed so hard for. He is finally in the point lead. It's a abysmal point lead of only 20 points, and he loses a Leo 2A3 leader for it. He loses a Leo 2A4C for it as well. So I don't think it will stick, because his frontline now is just so puny that the T80s and T72s should just be able to roll over this, unless he gets some masterful movement out of the BO105s and the Leo 2A4C on the defense. But he is 20 points ahead now. So the ball is now in Amduzi's court, and he has to get it forward and has to get the points.
Yeah, so there are a single Panzergrenadier and a single Jägeraufklärer currently standing in between Aim-Juicy and a +1 tick, or a +2 tick potentially. Aim-Juicy already has a frontline Motorasvedka that's going to be able to spot the entire fighting line of Leopard 2s when they get from behind this little corner here. Everything here is everything is going up Aim-Juicy, and with the cluster plane getting shot down because it wasn't retreated after it dropped its payload. Also, Pasta's capacity to punish overextensions is basically halved. There are probably also other tornado bombers, but none of them can single salvo kill the heaviest bomber except for the cluster bombers.
Yeah, and the Martyrs, trying to do a defensive fight, but the Martyrs, they are great against other IVs. They're fantastic against light tanks. They're not great against T-72s and T-64s because they only have the Milan 1 launcher with only 17 pen. It's only dealing 1 damage per hit to the T-72s and only 1.5 damage to the T-64s. So you can't really stop the enemy tanks with Martyrs. And that means it's down to the Leos, and their number just has been reduced likely too much here. T-80U is still around, and that one can tank the shots for days, and it's keep on pushing here. It does a really good job. Leo 2A3 here is eating it. Martyrs going down. Leo 2A3 goes down, and the infantry pushing through the town as well. Tornado comes in again, but this is not looking good for Pasta La Vista here.
Yeah, and the HE bomber completely missing its shots against the bombs against the Guardates Pulemechiki.
MiG-29s here coming in, 40% ECM, so it does dodge the roll-on missiles here. The electronic countermeasures keeping it alive. But the T-72s do push in, and they take some side shots from AT launchers, but it's only German Panzerfaust 44s. And those are some of the weaker AT launchers in the game. You at least get 6 rounds of them, but they have good accuracy, but they only have 14 penetration, and that means they are not even deadly with side shots. And Leo 2A4s here going down bit by bit. Only one remaining that is dead now as well. And with that, I believe it's time here for Pasta La Vista to admit defeat, and there we go. GGVP, as Amduzi takes game 1 in a really commanding fashion there in the end. Pasta just too focused on trying to break through and not really playing to the advantages of the Leo 2 tank that you have to use in a matchup like this.
Yeah, it's from the very start, I think we saw how difficult this map is to do standard aggro, because the standard defensive positions are just so close to counterattack positions. Like, it's very difficult to drive your enemy away from anything, and with all of these tree lines and very close reinforcement roads and very short distances in general, what you really need to do if you want to do aggro on this map, you need to get kills. And since like the very start of the opener, where the two Jäger Aufklärer units were I need to say this, by the way. The two Jaeger Aufklärer units that were doing the assault duty, one of them was called Hans, and the other one was called Gross Hans, so Hans and Big Hans. And those guys, when they went out and faced the enemy, just immediately got obliterated. And they were also the spotting capacity for that opener. So from that very start of the attack, when the Jaeger Aufklärers were shot down, it basically doomed the whole attack into being Leopard 1A5s trying to find the enemy without anything to actually spot. And from that very point, I think Pasta should have just called quits, just disengaged, and cut losses. Instead, there was this kind of lagging on and still trying to get that to squeeze some juice out of that rock, and that basically gave Aim Juicy everything Aim Juicy wanted: a little bit of time to build up, a little bit of time to do counterattacks and to build some momentum. And 10 minutes in, when the big boy tanks were out, I think that was when that's when Aim Juicy could have attacked if he wanted to, but of course didn't have to.
Yeah, GGVP here in the end. And let's go on to game number 2 here, and let's see if Hasta La Vista can bring it there, back over there. So here we go. Game number 2, Hasta La Vista versus Aim Doozy. And we have a heavy tonk matchup once again on one of our favorites maps in the lately added to the game, as we are on Chandra, and we have 4th Divisa on the right for Aim Doozy, and we have the 11th Horsey Horse on the left side here for Pasta La Vista, with some interesting little helicopters here from the get-go. Both Kiowa warriors starting here from the start and ready to shoot some tonks on the other side.
Yeah, this is this matchup here. It's two aggressive, expensive NATO high-tech tank divisions going against each other. The 11th Horse, of course, is maybe the most aggressive, considering it gets the good Special Forces recon. The LRS gets the excellent, and maybe, I don't think they're overperforming, but very well performing AA Kiowas, the Stinger Kiowas. And also get a forward deploying recon Abrams supported by theoretically by a forward deploying recon Bradley. And if you look at the deployment, the recon Abrams is actually going to be driving straight into Bravo. We have seen a lot of failed attempts in doing aggro on this map. I personally have committed a few failed attempts in doing aggro on this map. And the wide map without a back point and without any, only having 1 point zones is so good at punishing people for playing aggressively. And in this case, Aim Juicy is playing a way more standard opener with a bunch of small four-man recon teams. The Dutch are especially good with them because Werkeners AT get the Carl Gustavs, and KCT Werkeners are just good in general in everything except fighting. And the recon heavy opener of the Dutch is followed up by weapons teams, including like we're talking 7.62 machine gun teams, stingers, all of this. So nothing immediately to try to force an engagement. And with the rocket helicopter now coming up for Pasta as well, Pasta is completely committed into engaging early on. And yeah, going into both Charlie and Bravo in the opener, this is basically taking the big bite. This is taking the biggest bite that you realistically can do with any division here. And it is a huge risk, but it might pay off just for the fact that Aim Juicy is not opening with any tanks. Aim Juicy's heaviest equipment here are the YPR Prats, which are dedicated TOW2 launchers, and just some standard Panzerinfanterie. And all of these units are going to be spread on a relatively wide map, whereas Pasta's helicopters and whether it be AA helicopters, AT helicopters, or the rocket helicopter, all of them can basically, if microed well enough, can converge and eliminate the few threats around. So theoretically, Pasta is going to get into Bravo and Charlie, or maybe just one of them. And then Aim Juicy is going to have to start building up a force of Leopard 2s, while the high-tech weaponry, the TOW 2s and the M1A1s of Pasta can start, slowly trickling down on the battlefield. Now, the main counterattack of Aim Juicy that Aim Juicy could realistically do would be to attack the flanks of Echo and Hotel instead of trying to bash their head against the armored front line. But we're gonna see what's gonna happen. And Juicy is buying a Leopard 1, and that thing is gonna be easy prey for most vehicles and most vehicles of 11th horse. But if it's deployed well enough, it can get a side shot, close range shot,
Yep.
and maybe destroy an expensive Bradley.
Also, there are 5 AA units on the battlefield from the get-go. 3 Stinger teams, which can one-shot the Kiowa Warrior, and the Gepards, which will chew up any helicopter that gets in range as well. They are also pretty good against the A-10 that is deployed as well here in this really aggressive opener of the Pasta. And yeah, as you pointed out, on the flanks, there are only scouts, and scouts in the American lineup don't even have a single AT launcher. So the MR13 CV that Aim Juicy has positioned on the flank here, they could roll directly to Hotel. They are on the back point action here, which might even be a bit overkill with 2 of them, but they could also just kill the front line. A-10 forces unload on the KCT Vercanners. The helicopters follow suit here, but the Stingers are already on a good way in there as well. M1A1 is forward deployment, but it is still a tracked unit, so it doesn't have the max speed. So this potentially could still be a decent defense here for Aim Juicy. Has to be careful with the F-16 though. And yeah, there's an F-16C on the other side as well, so he loses his one. Loses the Stinger, the first Stinger in the transport as well. Ooh, big mistakes. And the A-10 goes for the kill on another one. Goes for the kill on the Cheetah as well. Oh, Aim Juicy will be mad about this one. Stinger and Cheetah both going down. Pasta using the Warthog here really, really well. And the Warthog will be able to get out alive as well. That was fantastic airplay here out of Pasta La Vista, and Aim Juicy got caught directly where Pasta La Vista wanted him, losing now a YPR transport as well. A-10 even still has more ammunition. The next Cheetah will force it back, finally. But the situation here is pretty terrible for our player in red, and he hasn't pushed towards the south, as there's a Kiowa Warrior there as well. Both Kiowa Warriors still alive, because the predictable F-16 got shut down by the better F-16 of the Americans here. F-16C beating F-16A, and this is a pretty problematic position to be in now, as the 4th Division player.
Yeah, I mean, it is still kind of a house of cards. Just losing some of those helicopters could completely crash this down for Pasta. But Pasta got like a complete and total victory. Pasta didn't. The enemy didn't even get to Bravo. The Leopard 1 and the Panzer Infantry had to unload way away from the fighting. And another Stinger, another Cheetah is getting bought. 2 recon vehicles, the M113s, also coming up, but they're moving into just sieging Bravo. They're not really going to be in any relevant location. Meanwhile, Pasta is buying Eyehawks, Pasta is buying supply, Pasta is buying Panzer Grenadiers to support the ACAV in its frontline action. There is absolutely no pressure that Pasta is under. That was a complete and total victory. And yeah, Jaguar 2 is coming out to basically hold the southern large field between the 4 zones in the south. And yeah, there's LRS is not is actually spotted by the KCT Verkenners right now. So the Cheetah could theoretically move in and start engaging it, and that is where it seems to be going. But meanwhile, the Bradley will be able to just open fire on the Cheetah, and the Bradley will most likely win that with its better weaponry.
Yeah, the Bradley is known though. Pasta MGZ knows about it. He already had to dodge away from some HGMs with a smoke, so he's not going to lose anything pushing into it. He also got a kill on one Kiowa Warrior with good movement of a Stinger team, so he gets a bit of a repayment there for his early losses, but he is still behind in losses, and more importantly, he is far behind in positioning on the map, with his flanking investment just being a bit much. Those AM100 those M113s, if they would be used for a push into hotel, he could get the flanking point already. Instead, he tries to be sneaky here. He invests a double M113 here into the side, 110 points away from the front line. Nearly 1/10 of his points from the start just invested into the side point there. And that means his front line was just not quite up there where it needed to be. And he might still get recuperated for that investment. Those M113s could still get a lot of damage done, but they mean that Pasta currently holds the front line. M110 does fail to kill the LRS here. Quick reaction from Pasta, saving the day, and the LRS moves out. YPR tries to get back into that point as we have a +3 currently, a really fast tick for the map. Next Kiowa Warrior goes down to a Stinger, so finally both of them taken off the battlefield. But Pasta reinforcing really aggressively here into the middle. Leo 1 and L not in position to follow that up. YPRs don't have ATGMs around here. So the Martyrs can play quite aggressively towards that point. The CV trying to push towards the middle. Toe2 finally around there, but still no push towards the southern part of the map.
Yeah, second iHawk was bought by Pasta and another M1A1. This one is going to position itself next to the Charlie attack or the Charlie siege. And yeah, the M113s in the background, they might actually, I don't think they're going to meet. No, I think they actually might meet the M1A1. If the M1A1 is going to move there right as the M113s pass it, it could be pretty tight, but I think this is going to be spotted by Pasta.
Yeah, second M110 here bought by as well by MDuzy, so MDuzy is still planning for a long game. Second, heavy artillery, and that's one of the win conditions of the fourth division. Those two artillery pieces can do a lot, and yeah, the M1A1 finds the first one, second one smokes off, but Pasta did realize the situation, so the second M113 won't do any damage. This is devastating for MDuzy, losing those units like that, and instead of getting any ground from them, just kind of throwing them away. Another helicopter goes down on the front line, another OH, so Stingers finally get control over that. But the M110s still have a lot of work cut out for them, and that Bravo is so heavily under control by Pasta La Vista is pretty problematic for MDuzy as well, who might need to reinforce infantry into Alpha and try to win the forest fights, but not the chunkiest infantry in 4th Division either.
Yeah, it's the Fourth Division is really not the greatest in doing infantry attacks. They do mechanized infantry attacks with the presumption that there's going to be Leopard 2s and YPRs to do the damage on both hard and soft targets. The one thing that the Dutch infantry is pretty good at is they have Carl Gustavs, but the Carl Gustavs are not the most relevant here, as this is a very long-range map. Oh, Seed plane going out and taking out a cheetah. AIM-GUC is playing slow, as you said, taking the two M110s. And if the KCT Werkeners, which currently have like pretty decent spotting from of martyrs and vehicles that Pasta is kind of using as a front line, the M110s could really start paying themselves off. But the question is, where can AIM-GUC realistically attack? AIM-GUC wants to deal with the Charlie attack because that's where it's strongest. But with the M1 Abrams moving in here, the rocket plane and the iHawk coverage, basically meaning that Pasta has air supremacy here. And if there are going to be any infantry attacks, the Hawk can just move on and long range rocket them away. AIM-GUC's infantry is not strong enough to actually counter that. Now here goes, taking out potentially the first Martyr Milan, and second one is going to be taken out in probably just about a minute after these heavy howitzers reload themselves.
Yeah, AGL here scouting deep in the south for Pasta. Pasta realizing that there's nothing through the southern flanks, so with the kill... Ooh, M113 actually returning now. Didn't quite get finished off. might still find some value. AGL hit by the F-16. Oh, Stinger team in the center gets overrun by the Panzer Grenadiers. And it's even Pasta who's pushing in the north now, pushing into the Alpha point, is trying to rotate the A-10 around there as well. And it's not Mduzi who is in charge of the initiative up there. The F-16 gets the Humvee in the south, and M110s finally start aiming on something again.
Oh
Still the
no.
Spherox under attack, but ooh, Leo 2 nearly going down to the A-10. A-10 will pay for it, and that is a nice victory, but the F-16 goes down in return to the F-16C and the Ihawk on the ground. The Dutch division here starts to suffer. M113s with the autocannons getting a bit of control in the north, but M1A1 ACAF can hunt them down as the Leo 2A4 can't come around. It's outgunned, and there is a scout team there, so it can't ambush the M1A1 either, especially as the M1A1 is a recon tank as well. So
Ooh, the scout team, though.
Iltis Firungs going down in the south, artillery getting a decent damage. M113 is in a lot of trouble, and more tanks are needed there for AMDUZ. His M110s keep on firing, but the situation here now pretty heavily deteriorated. +4 still for Hasta la Vista, and the +4 means that this game will be over in 7 minutes, and even if the situation gets stopped by AMDUZ, he is behind a lot of points on the map where you usually work with a +1, +2, or +3 tech.
Yeah, this is like I said. This was taking the big bite, and now Pasta has completely swallowed that bite. There is an argument, looking at how the fastest game is going, that maybe just bypassing the heavy artillery and instead having 2 extra Leopard 2A4s could have been the more aggressive stance, and maybe with just straight up Leopard supremacy could have punched through some of the Bradleys and the Jaguars holding the line. But really, it's just at this point, it's an Abrams after Abrams, and with a constant support of bomber aircraft, very effectively, basically forcing MGUC to react to things, forcing MGUC to constantly be on the back foot, and buying so much time for Pasta to just get these positions. And another YPR getting shot down by the ATGM defenses of Pasta. Pasta's recon just not in position to actually spot those Bradleys and Jaguars. And yeah, with this is everything's this time everything is going the way of the Pasta. Pasta is even flying the F-16 on the background, finding out how little air defenses there are, and yeah, even more Stingers are getting put into the front line. I think that's the cheap way to try to prevent the A10 from completely ruining you, but there just are not enough leopards to punch through the numbers of M1A1s. M1A1s are generally still the better tanks, especially compared to the B variants. And there's only going to be so many C variants, which are stats equivalents to the M1A1s, or almost that equivalents.
Yeah, Bradley here getting to town on the MG7 in the south. We have a CV pushing into the northern point. M1A1 there doing a pretty decent job getting this under control now as well. And yeah, MDZ never was able to bring any planes around to deal with the M1A1 ACAF, and his Leo 2 number just never went up either because he was constantly taxed by attacks from the air, by losses in ground combat. So he could never overwhelm the M1A1 with 2-3 Leos, and that enables this push here in the north that brings back the +3. F-16A once more pushing in here. The seaplane not quite finding the kill there in the end, but finally the next Leo comes around. But the CV even goes down on the north, and that's now a +4 here, and that's a really dangerous tick, as this means we are down to a 4-minute 40 timer. M1A1 in the middle finally goes down. Aircraft trooper there goes down as well. But next M1A1 already back in there. Jaguar on the way. Another Abrams coming around. The front line has been stabilized by Pasta. The Bravo point might be now pushable. And Pasta has to be careful to not lose everything in a wimp and overextend and then just get rolled up. The Dutch are great at rolling you up when you give them the opportunity, but so far he is not quite playing like that. Like, he is still playing really methodically, pushing bit by bit, and this situation here is not looking great for a player in red.
Yeah, the issue here is that the Bravo moment, getting that kill with the artillery, this is the moment. There is not anything there, but it's so difficult to actually for Duty to recon this quickly. The KCT Werkeners are on foot. The YPR could actually try to get in there and risk itself, but Duty is just too scared about the dangerous weaponry around the place, so it's not it's not exploiting the moment of just driving into Bravo and driving into the enemy backline, basically killing the Eyehawks. And even then, of course, Pasta could probably use the helicopters and the A-10s to punish this severely. But that's one of those things that just Indusi does not have the time. Something needs to be done quickly. The artillery is just not fast enough here.
Yeah,
even though they're getting a perfect salvo on the M1A Cav.
M110, yeah, getting some shots out there,
Yeah.
and the M1A1A Cav pushed back. We have two Leo 2A4s trying to get in there, and they should be finally helping out with that. Leo 2A4B coming around as well, but it's down to a +5 even as the Illustrious rotates back into the south. Bravo point completely abandoned here by Pasta, but obviously we have that knowledge. AIM doesn't, so he can't just rotate in there and can't just take the point. And that means that his time here now has been heavily reduced. He gets the Illustrious, he will get the point back, but he needs to rotate into all 3 points at once now to stop the tick in time, as he is now down to 1,664 points against him. 1 minute 30. That will go down up a bit the time that he has left. Yeah, but that's still only 2 minutes. He needs to get into the northern point. He killed the CV there, so he only needs to get his one in, but at the same time he needs to rotate towards Bravo as well, and he isn't doing that. Bravo is pretty open, and there are 33 minutes, and lately Pasta has started taking some losses, so there is still the chance of a full rollover, but I don't feel like Imduzi is moving with enough vigor here right now to really push for that, to really try to get that done. And with that, yeah, he's moving in the CV now in the north. He's getting the timer back up to 2 minutes of that, and he is about to kill another aircraft trooper there. Pasta currently throwing everything in to try to get the tick done, so that could backfire, but I still don't see any movement towards Bravo. I don't see any movement towards Hotel, which is another super open point here. Like, the KD at this point, Imduzi has done a pretty decent job getting it back on tracks, but he hasn't done a good job of getting his point situation under control. 2 minutes 11 seconds, and he is not moving towards any of the points on the map, as 11 VCAF is now in a similar situation at which 4th Division was at the beginning of the game. If you start taking some losses, the combined arm starts to fall apart quickly with this division as well. So there are massive gaps currently in the front line, but AIM-Duzy is not moving into any of them, and that means that we're likely just going to see another 1 minute 40 of this game, and then the end of it, as yeah, there are also still some aircraft around, so no cheetahs here in the center. The Stinger is to aggressively move with any of the formations. Only Stingers as air defense, which are decent, but the F-16s got overwhelmed in the north. Engineer Flash pushing forward, getting pushed by the Leo 2s, but still only now the push towards Bravo. That might just be in time, but oh no, taking a side shot here, and there comes the F-16 bomber and gets the kill. Stingers might take the retaliatory kill. Not even that just yet. The 30% ECM. Oh no, that is unfortunate, but it doesn't even matter because the kill of the tank is what is of importance here. That means that the point won't get taken back in time, and 50 seconds here ticking by with a +2. So yeah, in the end, I feel like with a bit more of pushes towards Hotel, we have a bit more place from the start to the flanks of the 11th ACAF. 4th Division maybe could have done a bit more, and I feel like this is actually decently close here in the end again to being back to equal, and then 20 minutes of playtime for Mduzi, but he just didn't quite get back there in time. Jaguar gets killed here in the end, but another Leo 1 and L went down, and yeah, only 18 seconds, no CV close to Bravo. This is GG now. Pasta La Vista will win game number 2.
Finally hunting down that ACAV on top of the forested hill. But yeah, in defense of Aim Juicy, like it is very difficult to come back from a fully successful air opener. Like you get the recon with the Hellfires, the Kaiba Warriors. Then right behind that you have the rocket plane, the A-10 that can just go against your anti-air, and with just decent enough luck, doesn't even have to have great luck, just decent enough luck can like remove your early air defenses. It's really difficult to like. There's a reason why back when it was slightly more powerful, 11th Horse used to be the most hated division, and I personally still hate it, and I've never played it because I have so many memories of just getting air openered after air openered. And it was interesting to see a Chandra game where the aggro actually just completely functioned. But I think I would agree that like the way to do that, if you face in this situation as an aim juicy, I think the slow build-up was a mistake. The slow build-up could have maybe happened under a +2, but under +4, that's a red alert. That's when you start to you have to do something to exploit the fact that your enemy's opener is so expensive. Even if you lost some units, there needs to be some kind of wacky stuff, some kind of big plays to open a front line and try to maybe maybe like draw the enemy's resources away with a kind of mediocre attack into a back point or a side point, and then maybe they don't get the M1A1 printer up in the way that Pasta managed to do here.
Yeah. GVP here in the end. Well played by Pasta La Vista with the air opener, and he just got it over the finish line. AMDZ just not quite finding the openers there. And the M113 push, that was the idea there in the south. That was supposed to be a similarly disruptive force to the air opener, but it just got caught out and just didn't quite get the job done. The trades in the end pretty well, good. AMDZ did got the grind back into the game, but just not quite the time to fully get it back online. And with that, we have a decider game coming. So quick break, guys, and then we're gonna see who makes it into the grand finals of Division 2. Will it be Pasta La Vista or Aim Duzy in this best of 3? Quick break, and then we're gonna be back. So the decider game will be on Airport, and we have a classic of a matchup here. We have a matchup that we have seen a couple of times on this map even before, as we have the 100-year war rematch, as we have France on the left side represented by the 5th Blinde, their heavy cavalry, and on the right side, in replacing the longbows, we have the 1st Armored with long-ranging heavy tongs trying to stand in the way of the French cavalry charge and trying to shoot as many horses as possible. And this is going to be quite the interesting matchup, as we have seen it a couple of times before, but this is now with Chieftain Mark 9s costing 130 points and Chieftain Mark 11s costing 170 points. So 1st Armored just got a pretty sizable buff. The tornadoes in their lineup also are better as bombers, so this should be a really interesting matchup here.
Yeah, the original 100 Years' War, in the class character of that series of conflicts, the British were actually absolutely the more progressive side, with the French representing absolutism and imperial Catholic dominance. But in this era, in the 1980s, we could absolutely say that the French are the most progressive ones, with the Thatcherite British representing reactionarism and the defeat of the human soul, if you will. So we are, of course, mentally putting ourselves all behind Pasta, and Pasta's very thin opener here, very thin, very expensive, and not a lot of fundamentals coming out here, with the Gazelle Canons getting bought in mass, AMX 10 RCs and Surublindes coming out, all veteran C1. So increased capacity, significantly lowered availabilities, and Dragon Paras basically trying to get the red tower in the two towers region, trying to get the triangle control tower, which is very important if you want to fight Echo, and then also the standard defensive deployment at next to Foxtrot. And I don't know what to say about these Gazelle Cannons, because these could be an awful, awful decision. There is no organic anti-air here, so Pasta is going to have to do air supremacy against tornadoes, which are better, and with only French fighters.
Yeah.
Pararover Milans and SAS patrols and all the forward deployment are going to give AIM-Juicy a great starting point here. And if this once again we're seeing a very risky opener, and if this doesn't work out for Pasta is going to have to buy weaker tanks against the entrenched enemy who already has the ATGMs out there.
But on the defense of the Gazelle Cannons, there are no gun-based AA units in the division on the side of AIM-Juicy, and his missiles aren't the most amazing against helicopters either. So the Gazelle Cannons here taking out the enemy Gazelles and now starting to shoot up SAS patrols. No 50 cals in the service of the British either. So really the Gazelle Cannons here not having their usual predators outside of the Tornado. And sending a Tornado against Gazelle Cannons doesn't feel amazing. It does work out so far though. A good couple of them shut down, but now the Tornado is out of missiles. And that means the remaining 3 Gazelle Cannons actually can go to town for now. Track Trap here coming in for one of them in the north. And we have a good couple of Chieftains there, and the Centurion AVRE rotating around as well. The Terrier Paras got some nice spaces. Jaguar HE will get the SAS patrol and might allow Pasta to cross the open in the south. Gazelle Cannon there pushing forward as well. So there is a Javelin LML, Track Trap here in the north, getting involved against the Gazelle Cannons there as well, failing to hit so far. So the Gazelle Cannons can shoot up the infantry a bit further, as the Track Trap here does fail again. Gazelle Cannon in the south got taken down. Next Tornado is being brought up. And the first kill there for the Track Trap here finally, as the other Gazelle Cannon is now in danger as well and finally goes down as well. So tanks are still around here for AIM-Juicy, but his infantry got reduced a good bit. So he gets an AMX-10 RC as well. Good kill there. And the French opener here is now about to take Echo still, but heavily reduced in force.
Yeah, the AMX-10s here need to start performing, and they're fast, they have great recon, and they got good guns, so they can still do stuff here, and probably should be trying to do stuff. And yeah, the Milan 2 here, if it can actually stop or just lag down these Chieftains, Brennu's getting a nice hit against Chieftain Mark 9. If AIM-Juicy's forces can kind of just be stuck there on the two towers region while the AMX-10s try to gain map control, this could buy enough time for Pasta to actually fortify and get the infantry both in Echo and between the enemy and the back point at Papa.
Yeah, Link Salam here trying to come in. That's a great buy on the side of AIM-Juicy. He generated air control with the buy of the Tornadoes, and it's a fantastic unit to kill AMX-10s with. You can even push it really close, because the AMX-10 doesn't have a 50 cal. So just like the British, the French lack those heavy RMGs, and especially on their gun-based recon units here, so that the Link Salam can one-shot them and can push quite close with the ATGMs there. MX-10 RC have to stay on distance, but the situation here is so that AIM-Juicy currently is a bit stuck in the north of the map, but Pasta's frontline is really, really brittle. Pasta needs to get good reinforcements and take out a couple more important units. Rover Milan killed there, quite nice, and set down on Echo to really get a decent tick advantage, because the heavier division that even currently with Chieftains is heavier than the other side, but once it brings a couple of the challengers onto the battlefield, just outweighs the enemy by a lot. Will push you over usually in the later stages here as the French.
Yeah, the AMX der Surblindes also are not trying to do anything weird or amazing. They're kind of just stationed behind the Dragon Paras as like fire support units. Now a twin bomber attack going down, Jaguar HE getting shot down, Mirage 5 getting shot down as well.
Yeah, they get
Big
one
victory for
chieftain,
MGC right
but
there.
great kill on two of the most annoying predators that the fifth lane they can bring around. Their bombers can be devastating for heavier tank divisions that are not quite ready, but Game Doozy was really ready for this. Two tornado fighters just chewing through those mirages, and now he lost a medium tank, 130 points, not that important, easily replaced. Warrior appliques coming around as well. Those are fantastic against the French tanks as well, as they one-shot the 9 frontal armor of the normal AMX 30, and they still do devastating damage to the Brennis. So having the Warrior applique against the French is great, and I would like to see even more than the two that we currently see. Oh no, it's already three. Okay, yeah, that 3-4 of them can be really great behind your tanks or around your tanks to have it so that the MX-30s can never stay around for long anywhere. Gazelle Hot gets shut down as well. Tornado gets through without being shot because there's only a roller 2 on the other side, which has a pretty long aim time, so it can't get the missile out in time. And the situation here currently not looking great for Pasta outside of the +1 take. And Pasta really needs to make this the +2 take here on Echo. That's why the P4 is moving in there. It needs to hold on to that for as long as possible. We have seen Mix 90 winning out of that kind of position in the grand finals as well. If you can then set up enough ATGMs on your own after holding the take like this, but it's not going to be easy. Warrior Plague here engaging with the Milan 2 against the MX stands, but it's two of them, so they get the kill in time. Whilst the arms rifled here have to be careful. Chieftain trying to push in, but you usually want to have a couple more units around against the AMXs so that you can circle through against them. And they can't just get the kill and then squander off. DRM 2000 gets gunned down by the Milan 2. The VAB is trying to push in. Might actually get the kill there in return. No other units there helping out. The Warriors coming around a bit too late. Will start to engage the VABs, but get engaged by the Milan 2 in return. Some artillery here would be nice for Aim Doozy to try starting to deal with the Milan 2s here.
Yeah, for either side, really. Like, Pasta's two infantry squads could have pushed the tower, but after the bomber came in and destroyed one of those infantry squads, the Grenadier Voltigeurs are there mostly doing a defensive action, so the enemy has not been driven away from the amazing spotting area. But the Milan 2s in both the control tower and the blue tower are a huge threat. MGC still has not actually repositioned the mechanized force into a different part of the map, which is probably, I mean, we know that there is no attack happening from Pasta up north, so the tanks could probably just not be there. Mirage 5 cluster going in and managing to drop the bombs on the Chieftain Mark 9s with fighters following it and Track Rapier shooting it down. The air game is not going well for Pasta here, and even though MGC has kind of been forced into recapturing a lot of natural territory, despite the opener not being the best for Pasta. Aim Juice is more kind of slow and stable style. I think it's probably going to work out better on the long term here. The Challenger Mark III and the M109 artillery piece coming out right now, with Pasta just buying more helicopter ATGMs and infantry reinforcements into Echo. And as soon as the artillery starts working on those towers, both the Dragon Paras and the Milan 2s, the ability for the French to react, use their faster tanks and their fast Surblindes to actually counter the enemy, that is going to be a way weaker strategy without those towers in play.
Brennis now coming in as well, but yeah, the Chieftains and the Warriors here, they are really capable units. We finally see both M109s here coming in for Aim Doozy. So artillery on the way. No AMX Alpha 1 on the other side just yet. Warrior getting into the engagement, but likely in trouble there. Needs to get away. Milan 2 in good spots for Pasta here. 3 of them on the battlefield already. Gazelle Hot in the south in a good spot to push any aggressive pushes towards Foxtrot, but first UK in this point of the game is not about aggressive pushes. They are a slow armored division in the early stages. That's why they need the airborne part of the division to give them a bit of ground, and then they are slow and methodical with pretty heavy armor that can rotate around. Pretty cost-efficient heavy armor at this point. They don't have the best rate of fire, they don't have the best speed, but they have pretty good frontal armor and a pretty good gun to deal with the enemy, and that is what counts here in the end once you get enough mass on airport. So this is what Pasta has to fear. This is what Pasta has to try to keep from happening by getting a kill here and there and keeping the tick up for as long as possible. 300 points lead is nice, but it's likely not going to be enough if he stops now, so he has to keep the pressure up here.
Yeah, the infantry counterattack happening up the northwest, the an armored rifle and Terrier's para unit is also pretty nice. Even the Dragon Paras are destroying it with the firing at it with a sniper rifle. As the second artillery piece joining in for M-Juicy could just target that tower and maybe just take those defensive positions away from play. The Hell Arms here are a huge threat to the Brennesses, and the Brennesses are moving away. No Tarask, no Mistral, no Roland 2 in position to actually punish the M-Juicy's helicopters. And most of the tanks and the ATGM defenses seem to be centered around just standing on Echo. So I think just slowly taking those towers out of play could actually start working out for M-Juicy. The points difference is not that massive yet. I think Pasta could have done better to try to get an early capture, because the points difference late game could be a really serious one.
But Pasta is getting into a great spot right now. Like, his push into the tree line there, with M-Juicy investing maybe a bit too much into the north, a bit too much into the air. He's getting flanked massively in the center right now. He's losing his air defenses as well, reinvestments that he will have to make eventually. He doesn't need that much air defense anymore with his tornadoes, and the Jaguar is also being decimated a bit on the end. The kill here would be great, but he doesn't quite get that. And his bombing run only gets the Eclair, so that's an okay kill, but that is not great. And now Pasta has control over all the buildings in the middle, has reduced the recon of M-Juicy heavily there as well, so M-Juicy can't easily push through these tree lines again. This was a really important small little push, and that might get Pasta up here another 500, 600 points over time, because it just slows down M-Juicy's counter push, and that's then at the point where we start to really talk about a significant advantage in points that will actually take a significant effort from M-Juicy to regain in the late game. So this really starts to look more and more promising in my eyes for Pasta in the long term, as M-Juicy currently just doesn't quite get any positions and doesn't really get any trades lately either. Pasta just running away in time once more here, most likely. Oh, AMX is still spotted. Challenger, can it find the killing blow? It can't. And
no.
Roland 2 there in a pretty aggressive spot, but might find the Gazelle as well. Does disengage now. The Gazelle hot forces the Chieftain and Challenger to be defensive here as well. They can't push into that, so yeah, Pasta has this on lockdown currently.
Yeah, the British tanks are hot in pursuit of the Roland 2. Nice, brisky walking speed in the forest with the Chieftain, and but yeah, basically they're waiting for the Scouts Law 80 to get out here and start providing some sort of like spotting. The numbers of tanks are already overwhelming to Pasta's tanks, but just buying ATGMs is more cost effective than buying Challengers. And the M109s are currently targeting a Brennus that just was spotted by the SAS patrol. No, actually the Scouts on long ranges. But these, I'd say that the M109s just targeting the ATGMs should be the priority, because those can be actually killed with a single salvo. Doing nice damage on the Brennus though, not talking that down. But yeah, M-Juicy needs way more infantry scouts, way more just recon teams, finding out the enemy, and with the Spartan, with the ground surveillance radar, the Spartan ZB298, there could be some like practical ability to do.
MX NRC gets another good hit here against the Warrior. Warrior Bleak goes down. At the same time, the northern part of M-Juicy's frontline now has nearly no ATGMs left, and AMX-30s are amazing against infantry because of the coaxial 20mm gun that is having insane accuracy as well. So the infantry of AMDUZ in the north, once spotted, is an mortal danger, and they just don't have any support there because MDUZ rotated all the tanks south, because MDUZ did take a couple of significant hits here and there, so that he can't afford a squeeze of frontline everywhere, and his challengers just get out-rotated here by Pasta La Vista. He doesn't get the 80 AA up in time to deal with the Gazelle Hots. The Gazelle Hot being insanely cost-efficient and really showing the efficiency in anti-helicopter AA of AMDUZ's deck. AMDUZ now trying to get the Milan 2 team in the center, but he's not gaining any ground. He's even losing ground, arguably. He gets the Milan 2 there with the salvo, but currently it's not looking like AMDUZ gets the push on. That could just change from one moment to another. If he gets a kill or two on some Brennises here, there's nothing to hold the middle left for Pasta La Vista, but currently Pasta is playing the light and mobile French really, really well in this matchup.
Yeah, the currently the Scout's Law 80 and the Spartan are both a little bit too far up and can be safely shot at by the French defenses. But though a logistics truck driving into the armored rifles here, the Spartan dodges one missile, and finally the British tanks open fire, getting a nice hit on the Brennus, forcing it back. The Gazelle Hot is still landed behind the Surblinde. Surblinde is not in position. Scout's Law 80 is almost actually in range of destroying the Surblinde. Surblinde is going to have to run. Milan 2 is getting bursted down, theoretically getting bursted down by the British armor. Challenger leader getting a hit here. And on these long ranges, suddenly the British tanks do actually rule this. The Warrior Uplique, great ATGM, basically full-on disables an AMX-30 if it hits. And with so many units for Pasta around the urban areas, Pasta could start doing a counterattack, could even possibly start, if he got a Tarask, could actually push into Alpha, and that's a huge risk for AMDUZ. So this attack right now is gonna have to work. There are not enough fundamentals currently.
Oh, but Challenger 3 goes down! Challenger Mark 3 getting sideshotted there. The cluster bomber comes in, will get some retaliatory kills, and won't get hit by Roland 2s. The MX-10 RCs may be overextending a bit here as well, but get to smoke off, get to run away. Scout Law 80 here, not quite in the position. Challenger trying to follow, but behind the smoke, the MX-10 will be able to get away just far enough. MX-10 Hot trying to get a shot here against the Challenger. Challenger gets a hit, but not a kill on this distance, as it only has 18 penetration, not quite the 20 that you need here, or 19 actually to, no, 20 that you need to get the kill there. As the Chieftain Mark 9 gets a kill on an MX-30B2, pushing it just a bit too close, but under fire now as well. Might get the next shutout in time to deal with the MX-30B2, not quite. The next B2 coming around from the rear gets a good hit. Challenger Mark 2 leader here really low as well, as the MX-30B2 pushing in. Warrior goes down in the north as the high-rises have been reoccupied here. Chieftain Mark 9 goes down as Pasta is smelling blood in the water. The M109s need to get onto that Milan 2, and the Challengers need to finally find some more kills here. They get a couple more shots out here in a second, most likely. Get another MX-30, as we have another Jaguar plane. Tornado doesn't get a hit. Oh, the bombing run will get through.
No!
Grenadier Voltigeur goes down. Tornado even gets stressed out a bit. Does struggle to get the kill on the Jaguar. Does not quite find it. Doesn't fire its final missile. Turns away. And the Jaguar even does survive here. Artillery still trying to find AMX-30s. The Milan 2 in the building does go down, as the artillery lands around it. Yet Link's Hellarm pushing in here again, as there is a lot of damaged units here by Pasta, but Pasta has done a great job not quite losing those. And AMDUZ's frontline here is really, really vulnerable right now. And I wonder why we see so many Chieftain Mark 9s and then Challenger Mark 2s instead of the Chieftain Mark 11, because I feel like that would be the perfect mix of 15 frontal armor and 18 pen that the MX-30 just don't enjoy at all. But yeah, it's the mix of the somewhat lighter and somewhat lower range chieftain that just can't quite hunt down the AMX-30, and the Challenger, which is just maybe a bit too expensive and too much of a bomb magnate. But yeah, really good play here with the French flexibility by Pasta La Vista, showing you that you don't always have to be the heavier division to win those tank fights.
Yeah, and Aim Juicy is currently the artillery play of Aim Juicy has been basically trying to hunt down Rolands and AMX-30s that get spotted, but this is there are too many vehicles and it is too inefficient to use artillery for that. The artillery is way back there, so the French have a lot of time to spot and move away from any salvos that get fired, and Aim Juicy especially losing that spotting capacity from the two towers region, and also like having to do infantry fortifications up north, even though we know that Pasta is not wanting to push north at all. Pasta doesn't have to. Pasta is just building up wide front lines of fast tanks and ATGMs, but their Juicy's position is so compromised that they kind of has to try to play this with the fundamentals. Those attacks that had to work just didn't, and the I think you're probably correct in saying that that one push of the Eclairs and the AMX-10s into those British tree lines, those tree lines that are currently occupied by the Challengers, that slowed down so much of the British potential attack was just forced to sit back and wait while Pasta got the few golden minutes of build-up time and ability to just redefine the game by doing more aggro, doing more infantry movements, and just kind of what do you say, mixing up, discombobulating Aim Juice's plans that were probably just about using the standard, better, slower tanks and getting a fire supremacy and getting into echo. And the French at that point probably couldn't have dealt with it, but right now it seems with this large concave building up, it seems even easy.
Yeah, the Warriors also get caught out time and again just sitting in front of the challengers, and that's just right where you don't want them to be, because you don't want them to in gun duels. You want them as the fire support for those challengers, so that every single gunfight is one where the MX-30s have to basically smoke off after the first salvo, because otherwise they eat a Milan 2 and die, and that means that they never quite have the firepower to kill a challenger, because they don't quite have the killing power to kill a challenger in one salvo. So whilst you have the firepower with the Warriors and the Challengers to kill an AMX-30 every single time, but that's not quite what happens. And yeah, the Tornadoes HEs here coming around in the north, Cluster Bomber following behind, getting a good run, but goes down for it. The northern parts get reduced a bit here for Pasta, so the Warriors maybe can enable a push towards Papa. We have a push into the middle now as well. Mistral gets spotted by the infantry, and the Warriors once more ahead of things here, but AMX-30 is in deep trouble there. ATGM does hit and does get the kill immediately, and now the Challengers push with it. Next matchup with an AMX-30 though in autocannon range, but the Challengers come around to solve the issue, and they keep on pushing, maybe overstepping their welcome here though. Yep, Aim Juicy realizing that as well. His infantry was about to die, and there are a lot of forces here. Gets the MX-10 hot on the side. Milan 2 team there coming in a bit hot as well. Might go down to transport. Oh. Just hopping out last second, as the MX-10, the M19s immediately should focus on it. Okay, they're focusing currently on something else. Challengers get hit by the Milan 2. That's not what you want to happen there. And the infantry here a bit low once more for Aim Juicy. Is starting to push a bit in the north again, but only has 16 minutes now for a 1,500 point difference, and he still has to get back fully into Echo to stop the take completely. And 109s get the artillery here on the Roland 2s. Will get a couple of hits there, but Tractor Pier goes down in the middle as well. That's a bit annoying, and there goes the Warrior Pleak. And there comes the MX-10 wave again. The Warrior Pleak's just getting a bit too close for comfort in my eyes once more, and they now leave the Challenger outgunned and outnumbered, and that's where then the MXs still can take the fights. Harrier HE goes down as well. Gets a good amount of damage. Warrior Bleak from the north rotating in. Does miss against the MX-30, but does stun it down. Challengers, still 2 of them around with the leader as a third option, but it didn't show up. Get a good hit here. Need to get the kills. Need to finally start making a real dent into the MX-10s and the MX-30s, but they just barely failed to do it here again. And the French speed allowing another retreat here. Challenger leader did move out of the zone again. Will have to come back later. MX-30 under attack. Does smoke off again. Does retreat again. And once more, AMDUZ's tanks just can't quite follow because they don't quite have enough firepower behind them. Like, they will have to try now because I feel like this is the last chance and you have the enemy on the run, you have the enemy damaged, so you might as well take some ground here. But without recon, or with only one Spartan there around, this is not going to be easy. He gets a kill on one of the enemy units. All the enemies now have to move. It should at least stop the push. But you kind of even have to move on now to Foxtrot. Maybe even use your tornadoes for ground strafing. But the Roland 2s are still too many, most likely, to allow that. Scout Law pushing in. Lynx Hellarm here is around, but the Mistrals are pretty deadly. The Northern push hasn't really done much for AMDUZ. He has gained control of over his high risings. He has the better force in the town, but it's not a push that really threatens Papa yet, and that is what he needs at this point in time. He needs a push that threatens Papa, and that's unfortunately not quite what he has on the board yet.
Yeah, and AMDUZ, there was a moment here with Pasta having no supply, but with the 2 Puma Kangaroos being able to go down here, and also resupplying that TRM 2000, having triple the repair speed in practice with 3 different supply vehicles, and with only 5 minutes left here until Pasta manages to get a point victory, and Pasta is reinforcing with Grenadier Voltigeurs. There was no actual map control achieved, and despite all of that fight, the Puma Kangaroos can come in and immediately spending all of their supply with resupplying, rearming, and refueling all of these vehicles. And yeah, the AMX-10s, you get a bunch of them killed, and Tornado here destroying one of those Grenadier Voltigeurs. But there's just too many targets at this point, too much numbers, too much sustainability for Pasta. And even if AMDUZ had pushed right then and there, just a few moments ago, the Gazelle Hots would have engaged them on long ranges, and it would have been practically impossible to have air defense there. So that would have required a tornado to actually dive into the enemy territory. We know that there are Rolands there, but AMDUZ probably just doesn't know anything. So doing that sort of risky play, huge issue even at this point of the game. And as you can see the numbers here, we can see the British have been trading decently well and managed to get numbers, but
artillery hitting the Challenger leader even at this point. Might just get the kill there. Yeah, AMX XR1 just killing the CV, and it's only 4 minutes now to victory. There is another Chieftain's commander on the way, but that was supposed to get Foxtrot. That was supposed to be the 2-pincer move now of AMDUZ, putting up pressure onto the center while starting flanking Foxtrot, meaning that the MX-30s can't just rotate either side. Jaguar goes down here, so another nice kill here if the game goes longer, but the game might not go longer here. He needs to get the move on now, and loses to the Tornado there in the end as well. M109's currently not getting any kills. Challenger Mark II on the way. The push in the north is finally moving in as well. MX-10s and infantry have to be brought towards Papa now finally. This is where AMDUZ was supposed to now pull the push in the middle. Uses a warrior replique in the north, but that's not the key part. The key part is what happens here now in the center. There's 2 challengers left over trying to push in. Centurion immediately gets got by a Gazelle Hot as the Javelin LML slowly tries to move forward, try to protect this. Another Javelin LML coming around as the Tornado's all down, so the Gazelle Hot isn't that easy to kill off right now. Terrier Paras and Armored Rifles trying to push in, but French infantry is in a pretty good spot, and TV not quite around yet for this point. Foxtrot push now coming in, but there is still a Milan 2 here, and there is no bomber coming in directly on top of this. ATGM Might even just get a side shot. Ooh, no, it doesn't, but the MX-30 does. And the next leader goes down. The Sultan leader in the north goes down. That was supposed to get Papa. Oh, Imduzi might just lose this on CVs alone once more, as there are no CVs directly on the front line. He has another Challenger Mark II now rotating desperately around. It's a slow tank, but it is moving in. It might just make it towards Echo in time. He needs to get the enemy CV out of there beforehand, though. But yeah, this push in itself just got in time. AMX30B2 there with the important side shot. There was just barely enough there for Pasta to hold this point, but barely enough was enough. And Challenger Mark II under attack by artillery again. They won't do any pushes in the middle. The P4 PC here finally will go down. Mistrals finally will go down as well. The Challenger desperately trying to rotate in there, but it's only 9 minutes 40 seconds. The Papa point would need to be captured really soon now, and at the same time other points as well. We have another chieftain coming around. AMX30B2 leader goes down in the south as well, so at least no CVs for Pasta La Vista directly on the front line either, but he has 2 more AMX30s coming in. He still can do some smoke shenanigans towards Echo as well, and the push power towards Foxtrot has been evaporated as well. The Scout Law 80 team never rotating in there to try to get a kill against the AMX30. Challenger failed to do so as well. The Milan 2 got eliminated, but that's about it, and the Challenger Mark II here just barely arriving in time, likely in the nick of time here to stop the instant loss towards 2,000 points, but at the same time, the northern push towards Papa completely dead in its rails now, as well as AMDUZ just lost too many units around the board, and with that, his chances of getting 1,930 points in 8 minutes are basically none.
Yeah, it's the thing with the tanks is that speed is survivability, and the French have both the speed and the capacity to punish people for lacking speed. The AMX-10 hot missiles, the hot missiles both in the on ground and in the air. The fact that the Brennuses have great penetration even with the pretty bad accuracy, so they can fire and then just smoke and run away reliably. The speed in which the Puma Kangaroos can come out for only 45 points and quickly repair and resell themselves. Pasta's tank force is using all the resources that it has to offer, really. And the AIM-Ducey has been, Protoss, when you're in a fight and you get punched in the nose and you get stunned. That's a real thing. Like, you do lose a control for the moment, like a few seconds if you get punched in the nose, especially. And if that happens to you just multiple times, there's going to be so many moves that you didn't get to do because you start out by basically having to recover from that early fight. That is what it seems like to see the challengers just go against a stronger and more numerous French force of tanks and Hot 2 missiles again and again. And there's been some good decision making from AIM-Ducey's part here, and also some good micro, but Pasta just always grasps the tanks away, just prevents that overextension, prevents the loss, and just naturally the 40 and 50 kph tanks of the British cannot follow. And from the very start, when the Surblindes, even though the Surblinde opener was kind of limited, there was this moment after the opener when the map was largely empty, and especially the French recon units, the Dragon Paras and the AMX-10s, could basically just take ground as they wanted to. And this put the British into this position where they were the tempo was barely ever on AIM-Ducey's side. Even when AIM-Ducey traded well or had a decent engagement, there was never enough there to go on to actually exploit that into gaining ground. And this was a very great example, I think, on why speed is the most important trait in main battle tanks. Not the most important trait, but for me, it is the most important trait.
Yeah, and the challengers here really got run around a bit too much. MGZ never quite getting the battle line that he wanted, and I think it's partially down a bit to the warrior pleaks just dying a bit too easily toward against something like the by being misplaced a bit every single time. Like, not heavily, like they were never just pushing in completely recklessly, but they were always a bit ahead of the challengers. That's a bit of the challenge of this division, because the Warrior League is a insanely fast IV, but the challengers and especially the chieftains are really slow main battle tanks. So you have to micro your warriors specifically to not get ahead of your tanks. If you A click them all, the warriors always will race ahead, and then they just die to the good guns of the French. And you need them so desperately in this matchup. Like, this matchup in the pure tank fights, you can win as the British, but only if the French allow you to win it. And Pasta was too good that. But the way to lose it as the French is just by eating Milan 2s, because Milan 2s one shot you. And the Warrior Pleak is the only IFE with the Milan 2 launcher on it. And that's why it is so good against the French tanks, but it was not quite there. The few times where it got its ATGMs out, it did do good damage, but it just wasn't quite enough there to get this through, and the Challenger just not cost efficient enough here to win it on its own. So in the end, even though the AMG just at the end got it back into the positive KD, he does lose the game here, and Pasta La Vista will move on to the grand finals in Division 2, and it is on us now to figure out who will be the opponent, as we have Koch and Greyhound coming up in the second semifinal. So here we go, second semifinal of the night, as we have Greyhound versus Koch. Two players that really have delivered so far this season. I enjoyed both of their games a lot. Pretty dominant quarterfinals as well. And now we have them against each other. And now we have the once won airport. And Koch is playing the same division that we just saw on the same side from AMDuzi with the first 2K, a division that Koch has played a lot in the past. And his group of friends that he practiced with are known for playing a lot as well. And on the other side, we have Greyhound on the 6 Motostrelki Brigada, and that is a really hot little division as well that really has started to shine this season as well in the 1v1 space.
Yeah, I think people, when it's been played by top players so many times that people have kind of figured out when to use it and when to not. And this matchup here, for instance, I think it's a pretty great example of where Sixth can shine. Sixth has, of course, superior anti-air. It has the ability to do the helicopter opener, both with the Mi2 urns as well as the Mi-8 transported Luftsturmjägers. And with the nice amounts of support units to cheaply hold, as we can see here, PKM conquers defenses happening for the urban area. The mix of units is not necessarily intuitive, but it is very powerful. The tanks, importantly, you get T80s and T64 BVs, both of which are equivalent or better than what the British can bring out, not necessarily via value, but on defenses, especially long-range defenses, the Soviet tanks do have the advantage of having missiles. Missiles are not always the best thing to have. Sometimes they do just add an extra cost to your tank. But against the British, who are already so goddamn slow, the chieftains are 40 kph. So if a chieftain just gets 1 or 2 hits into it, it can basically slow down to a crawl and making it completely useless pushing in the late game over open areas. And Koch is doing a relatively standard like forward deployment opener here. Instead of the more expensive special forces recon units, we're seeing the cheap snipers, which are all still very good at especially dealing with enemy infantry with the sniper rifles. Para-Milan 2s, of course, an amazing choice here. If you want to start out the game in any way, forward deploying ATGMs is always a great way. And then a very limited amount of infantry to just kind of hold the corners and prevent the enemy from doing anything. The weakness of Sixth is that with its kind of ragtag combination of units and formations and support units and special forces units and tank units. It doesn't have the greatest fundamentals. But then again, neither does First UK. First UK is also dependent on either doing a late game tank play with weaker tanks than most armored divisions, and also like investing extra into this forward deployment opener. If the forward deployment opener doesn't do anything, well, that's just hit against your tempo, First UK player. And on airport, sixth has been played a lot. And as well as First UK. One of the reasons I believe is because both of these divisions have great artillery. In the last game, we didn't see the 175 millimeter, the biggest gun in the British arsenal.
That's not in First Armored, though.
It's not in First Armored?
No, that's in Second UK.
Yeah, well, I thought so that it was weird. I think it may have been back in the day when I still played First. But yeah, in that case, Sixth also overperforms against First UK by having way better artillery. And looking at Greyhound's opener here, seems like Greyhound basically wants to bypass the most obvious opener areas, which are Echo and Foxtrot, wants to kind of start pressing into Zulu, and then knowing that the enemy is going to put their forward deployment defense lines to cover these open engagements and open reinforcement roads. So Greyhound just kind of trying to bypass all of that and then maybe transition into the T-64s early on, because those things can fight against the chieftains and the warrior appliques quite effectively, I would say.
Yeah, and air dominance here being really a focus of Greyhound, wanting to get his helicopters through, that makes sense. Ooh, and we see a unit that we haven't seen in a while, but Napalm has been fixed. So L39 ZO Napalm launcher coming around and likely just going to try to burn down the buildings here. MiG-21 going a bit deep here. Tornado coming in as response, getting the kill. Can it get out before the MiG-31 gets enough missiles on target? It gets out alive, forcing back the MiG-21 as well. The Napalm does stop any units from getting into the frontal high-rise building. Milan 2 still moving towards it, but gets into the building next to it. So interesting air opener here, but losing the MiG-21, good micro there by Koch with the Tornado, and Spets Trooper A here will get some ground. The Mi-8 will get the Luftsturmjägers out in the south, but the high rises under control by Koch. Koch also with a bit of potential towards the north. Javelin just not in range of the Mi-2 Urn though. Tornado gets the kill of the Mi-8 before it can land. Oh, no! Perfect timing. Perfect timing by Koch. That Tornado is just clutch. And is now coming around for the Mi-2 Urns as well. Really important investment there. Whilst on the other side, we see more ground investment with Modschützen. Meaning that Koch will be open for a minute or two on the ground where this tornado investment got into. But killing off that Mi-8 helicopter is a nice little victory. And having two tornadoes now means that he can contest MiG-31s later on as well. And that the planes, especially the cluster MiG-21s, in the side of Greyhound have to be careful when they appear. So it absolutely makes perfect sense to get a second one here that early on, especially with that perfect timing on that kill.
Yeah, so the weakness between one of the weaknesses of First UK is that if they want to do an infantry attack early on with Terrius Para, they are really bad at actually following it up with support. The chieftains, the warrior appliques are all right, but the chieftains are just quite slow to move around the place. And currently we're seeing that even though Koch got the very crucial kill, the Terrius Para and the sniper here are not enough to really try to exploit this. So the vehicles are moving in and trying to participate in this fight. Just destroying or driving away that Spetsgruppe A should be enough for Koch to just get most of the region here. Now the javelins are targeting the Mi-2 Urn as well. And with the rifles and infantry leader, the rifles and Milan coming into to fortify Zulu, this is kind of the moment here. And I like that Koch actually brought out the uplink is now lost, but I like that the chieftain is still participating in this. The armored rifles really just kind of need to keep going and try to cut off that reinforcement road from red to Zulu that is currently held by the MTLB leader. Greyhound is buying in 2 vetted up Motoschützen squads, but they're coming in slow with the tracked BMP-1s, as well as a Hyacinth and a T-64. So the good stuff coming out early on, actually not a, yeah, it's a T-64, not the BB. I don't know why I thought they had the BB. Anyways, Hyacinth, one of the better, maybe even the best Soviet artillery piece, arguably for its price. Great rate of fire, great salvo length, and still cheap enough to buy early.
Yeah, Sniper here getting involved against and doing a decent amount of work from that tower. The Meteor not quite going down. Greyhound landing it in time. Good dodge there. Getting it out of the optics of the Tornado. M109 coming out early here for Koch as well. Bringing in some more rifles. Really trying to get Zulu fully under control. As meanwhile, we have some northern incursions with BRDM-2s here from Greyhound trying to get behind the enemy and trying to get some nice line of sight. Tornado seat being bought on the other side, so Koch having big plans here with first UK as he tries to find out where the enemy books are, but that Tornado is spotted, so the books should be easily turned off as the Tornado is just going way deep here. The book is not turned off right now, but the Tornado seat doesn't quite find it, and now it gets a shot out, and then it immediately turns off, turns on again, and might even get a kill here. That would be big. No, the missile doesn't quite track. Tornado gets out, but 9 damage is pretty big nonetheless, meaning that this Tornado seat will be out for a while, and that air spam not really an option for Koch here, which might have been the setup there. Trying to get a kill on a book and then immediately bringing 1 or 2 bomber tornadoes following it up, trying to duel the enemy MiG-31s with your Tornado AAs. But yeah, now artillery maybe has to do the job. Conquers under fire. That would be a nice kill. Gets the kill there. More warrior pleaks coming around in numbers here as well towards the south. And seems like Zulu and the town around it being the main contesting point for both players so far.
Yeah, the thing is the Greyhound doesn't really have like the infantry that Greyhound has is actually deployed very defensively. The Motoschützen, the Veterancy 2 Motoschützen, which are clearly the assault troops here because, you know, the Veterancy 2. And they're also East Germans, so they get extra buffs and they have an extra machine gun. So sending those guys out there, they could fight against the 0 Veterancy rifles and win these fights pretty decently, I think. But right now, I think the plan for Greyhound is to just attack the enemy tower. The enemy tower was recently bombed, and I don't know if Greyhound knows this, but at least the sniper was destroyed here. The Spetsgruppe are pretty close by and there are no recon units currently for Koch. So this is kind of a moment of momentum for Greyhound here. And yeah, Koch is bringing out veteran armored rifles to kind of actually not putting them into the town. Instead, Koch is kind of repositioning and putting the Paramilans on the sides, wanting to avoid those towers in the middle, which is probably smart when you know your enemy has a Hyacinth nearby.
Yep. The M109 also going on town against the Conquerors, as we see the first couple of tanks now arriving for Greyhound. Greyhound not having to push into the south. The rifles, a great little infantry unit as well, 8 men, double MG, so decent firepower, and one of the best AT launchers in the game, the Law 80, with 20 penetration, high rate of fire, good accuracy, 750 meter range. So the really the bane of any 64 here that tries to push into it. T-55's just melting towards it. So you have to be really careful. BMP-1 gets got by Milan 2 here in the middle as well, as the Warriors just raid into Echo, and they could raid into Foxtrot most likely as well. There's only one BRDM Conquerors there, and another Conquerors trying to rotate in. So the north pretty open here for Greyhound, so he kind of needs to set up...
Battery. Hyacinth is a second hit could have stunned it, but no, the M109 is escaping this. But yeah, Koch wasn't doing due diligence in dodging counter batteries, and Hyacinth pushes it out. And now with Greyhound managing to get the Motoschützen out, Koch is smartly disengaging from this. There's a bunch of infantry, and the infantry reinforcements are actually repositioning themselves for a counterattack. And with enough warrior appliques here to have fire supremacy against anything that is not a long-range ATGM, Greyhound is sending in a cluster MiG-21 and is targeting one of the appliques. Oh, they could take both of them. Does not take both of them.
Ooh, javelins get a shot and they get the kill. Only 8 hit points, so 2 javelin hits are kill against the MiG-21. Really great kill there for Koch, taking one of the really strong but pretty expensive by now MiG-21 cluster bombers off the battlefield, and that is one less thing to worry about. Conquerors under fire by the M109, getting gunned down immediately as well, so the defense of Foxtrot stays really vulnerable. Tornadoes now trying to go for the MiG-31. Quick reaction there by Greyhound, getting it back out of there. You don't want to get into the missile range of the 2 tornadoes there. And you have the faster plane, but the less maneuverable plane, so dogfighting not an option. Get a missile out, get out of there. And Warriors here now pushing back against the Motoschützen. Link's Hellarm goes down. Pretty close fight so far. Both sides here trading blow for blow, but I like the position of Koch a bit more with this airplay going pretty well, and with his infantry killing power in the south doing quite well as well. Plus, I just really don't like how Foxtrot is looking right now. If Koch ever tries to poke in that direction and realizes how little there is, then this could really escalate quickly into a push there. Greyhound at least has the BRDM2, so any northern flanks he will sniff out with that, but he is desperately needing to keep up pressure in the center or in the south, and that also forces him into bad engagements because he knows that he has to keep the enemy away from the north, and he knows that the only best way to do that is by keeping them occupied and busy and microing, but that means that you have to push into them, and it's not easy as 6th Motostrelki to push into the first UK armored.
Yeah, I mean, 6th is getting a lot of cheap weapons themes, the Conqueror's PKM combo.
Oh, counter battery does hit again though. Koch being spotted there and does get caught this time. M109 going down. That's a nice long-term advantage here for Greyhound, meaning that the Hyacinth has the gunfire advantage, and it meaning also that even if a second M109 comes out, it never will have the killing power to kill tanks, and only fire teams really in danger of getting killed with one salvo. So that is a nice advantage now here for Greyhound in the long run for the next 28 minutes.
Yeah, but as I was saying, the bringing out of the T-64s here en masse, the T-64s are, if you have a decent enough number of them, at certain point of the game, they can just fight off a single challenger or a bunch of chieftains. But Koch is in such a great position here now. As I say this, does destroy an enemy book.
And
one
doesn't
of them
get hit by the other one, so the tornadoes will get out alive. Tornadoes also hunting the enemy planes here behind the lines. One tornado AA got down though. One MiG-21 AA went down as well, but that's a fair trade in the air. But losing the book on the ground, pretty annoying here for Greyhound. So at least getting a bit of a dent into the tornado force could be helpful. BRDM2 here also killing off a transport now. Did push even deeper. Killing off a rover with an SAS patrol inside. Gazelle Recon coming around to try to figure out what exactly happened there. And likely gonna just run into that BRDM2 as well, but at least we'll know what's going on then. Tornado cluster being bought for the north. Oh no, actually being rotated around into the center. And the MiG-31 has to get its missile onto the right target there. Has to be careful. Tornado actually might get the kill on the way out. Gets another missile out. Nope. Does fail to do so. But the Javelin... Oh, that would have been really nasty if the Javelin kills MiG-31 with its high ECM. But both sides being pushed out. So the MiG-31's push there, in the end, worth it. Getting the tornado cluster off the battlefield so that it can't drop its bombs anywhere. Maybe buying a time for another book. Whilst the Hyacinth here tries to find some kills on the ground. Doesn't quite hit the mark though. And yeah, 122 points advantage for Greyhound, but Greyhound really wants a tick here. M109 coming in on the other side. The Gazelle Recon went down to the BRDM2 as well. So that still is there. And that still is a nuisance that has to be dealt with. Paying off big time here for Greyhound.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I always have been saying about this map is that the towers, the high rises here, they are a trap in many ways. And I think we saw Greyhound kind of walk into that trap just a moment ago with that Motoschützen attack. Like spending so many resources to capture the blue high rises, the blue towers, only to be immediately counterattacked from that position, gaining nothing, and just giving your enemy time to build up a stronger force. And you're looking at all these PKMs and these conquerors and these tanks, they all are centered around one decisive battle. But even if Greyhound starts getting good kills, the units are not in position to actually achieve this tick. And even though technically Greyhound is leading on points, as we know, the position of Foxtrot is such that absolutely is Koch is kind of spiritually leading this, I think. Cluster getting one of those pressures Challenger Mark IIIs away, and that's a very nice victory for Greyhound. But I think Greyhound's investment into that urban fight have just been a larger tactical mistake. The T-64s are not in the greatest position to actually really do anything, and with Koch having so many infantry units on the ground, they practically can slow down any kind of an attack, giving time for Koch's reinforcements or tanks or even aircraft to actually intervene in here. And I think Greyhound is now finally moving a larger force to try to attack Echo. And another Luftsturmjäger is coming in here, and I think this one will also try to just get the Luftsturmjägers into Echo somehow. But not having that early Zulu conquest, shooting that transport helicopter down in the opener, that was a massive hit against Greyhound, I think. And I think Greyhound maybe if Greyhound wanted to fight on that urban area, should have just gone straight all into capturing Zulu instead of fighting for those tactical positions, because going out there, gaining those tactical positions, but also giving your enemy an ability to attack you efficiently from multiple different directions is generally a bad deal on the long term.
Tornado AA here getting out just barely. As MiG-21 on Tornado getting a push on it. Challenger Mark II gets hit by a MiG-21 cluster. Greyhound getting some great kills there. And wrestling back air control. Has to be careful. Tractor Pier might get the MiG-21. Gets the MiG-21. So at least a bit of a payback for the Challenger loss. The T-64s here also pushing into ATGM. Fire out AA support. That's a bit annoying there. No Tunguska's here to help them. T-64 getting side-shotted. Ooh, Greyhound there, not with the perfect micro. Having the double book, but no ground-based Eaglas or so around with that. Tornado Seed also coming around, blocking the books from firing, and the Tornado Cluster coming around for the Giacint here, likely finding the kill. Books now activated. Can they find the hit? They find one hit, but no kill there as the Eagler team went down as well. I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't have jinxed that. Tornado Cluster goes down to the long-range book shot. Second shot actually got out. And there goes the Tornado Cluster. But, okay, that's still a good kill on the Giacint. The Tornado Cluster loss, annoying, but I would say worth it at this point. The T-55 and the T-64 in the south pushed back as well, as they got pretty badly hit by the Cluster too. Jaguar HE actually coming in for the kill, and kills both. Book not able to get the hit on target this time. Might find one on the way out. Nope. No hits this time around, so important counter strikes there again with the air after losing to the Challenger to the bombing runs, and that's now the pressure that Koch needs. Koch still needs to get a point tick, and by now Greyhound starts to reinforce Foxtrot. Koch didn't really ever sniff out the weakness of Greyhound's northern flank, constantly focusing on Zulu, but now finally a Rapira coming in, a bit of AA coming in as well. Another ATGM and maybe a tank there for Greyhound still would be good, but at least he starts to get something towards that point so that it isn't an easy run over. And the M109s on the other side finding some kills, but pushing towards Papa, not gonna be easy here for Koch either, so 21 minutes still remaining, but he eventually will have to do a move here.
Yeah, I think the push on Papa is at least the supposed push on Papa. I think is still a good idea considering Koch has so over reinforced, has so many units in this area, and not using those units to apply pressure would be a mistake. But just applying some pressure and capturing enemy positions forces Greyhound to redirect units there. Now, two MiG-31s going out there, getting a long shot hit against a Jaguar, not getting one against the Tornado Seed, and another Hyacinth coming in and targeting this SAS patrol will likely destroy it in a second, which is going to be an unfortunate loss of a very, very strong recon unit for Koch.
Yeah, SAS patrol
Actually
trying
not.
to get the kill. Well, it's...
Oof, that's a novel right there for the SAS guys. That's like a movie deal, even not a good movie, but like a British movie deal, I think, from that one. But yeah, so Luftsturmjägerführer and Spetsgruppe A and Luftsturmjäger Metis, the best infantry currently out for Greyhound, or maybe on the field as well, are going to try to attack Echo. And I'm afraid that Koch might actually deal with this pretty effectively as long as the T-64s are dealt with somehow. And the MiG-21 cluster could completely ruin this for Koch.
Javelins getting around, but they won't stop it. Can they get the kill at least again? Doesn't look like it. As they even fire on the wrong unit there. Mi-8 was shot up by them. Mi-8 pretty low already, so we're likely going to go down here in a second. Oh, no, both Javelins doing Javelin things. So Greyhound can fly low again and actually keep the Mi-8 alive. Well, it's the Luftsturmjägers now. Start moving. CV moves with them. Mi-8 rocket on the ground with the support there. Giasint aiming for the javelins, trying to kill them so that the Mi-8 can get out of this precarious position that it is in. And it gets a take online here for Greyhound. MiG-21 clusters doing MiG-21 cluster things. We have seen them winning even all leagues in the past when the cluster bomber of a certain pro commie got a certain team in place, M1 tank blob. And they have done a pretty good job so far in this game as well. Tornado Seed going down to the books. Good book control here by Greyhound. And this is currently looking pretty promising. The +1 here, a nice little addition as well. Finally starting to get around and getting the point lead that was pretty small into maybe a decent one here over the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, the Koch doesn't seem to really have... Koch is buying tanks, and with two bombers once again coming in and destroying the Luftsturmjäger Metis, my theory was that Greyhound could overextend here if the challengers get a really good engagement, so with the warrior appliques, and then with the counter push happening from Koch could maybe, just kind of find out that Foxtrot is not that well defended. Though the Conquerors and the Rapira there are gonna put any kind of movement over the top into a crossfire. So this should be attacked with infantry, and then the PKMs, of course, are a problem for any infantry. But the PKMs are not that long range. I think infantry recon or the Spartan could probably move there with slight support from the artillery. And MiG-21 cluster coming in once again, nothing buzzing it off.
Ooh, it doesn't quite get the hit there, though.
The Javelin. No, it didn't drop its bombs. The Javelin stopped it at the last second.
Javelin's coming out there and stopping it from getting the kill. But the +1 still going on here. Luftsturmjägerführer supported by two T-64s, stopping the challengers and warriors from pushing actually forward. Artillery finally has them triangulated down and will likely gonna kill those Luftsturmjägerführers. They have to move right now. They don't, so they're gonna be toast. Yeah, first hit kills them out in the open. Cluster bomber coming around. T-64B going down there. That's an annoying death there again for Greyhound. Another tank loss that he didn't quite expect like that, but he has another MiG-21 coming around. What is that track drop here doing up there for Koch? This is some shenanigans. Trying to get just on top of the enemy air spawn there. Challenger goes down to the MiG-21 cluster nonetheless, though. The napalm bomber might find a rover, will find a rover CP. Unfortunately for Greyhound, his own CV not around right now anymore, and he loses the L39 on the way out, but killing off the CV is still annoying for a touch here. And 223 points now ahead. Foxtrot pretty secure. 16 minutes going, and Koch is in quite the annoying position right now, trying to find a way to generate a tick. 60 minutes is still enough time to absolutely do it, but he is not really putting any threat onto any position where he could get a tick from right now. And that is what worries me.
Yeah, it's the horse blinder effect here. I think that the if the infantry had managed to secure the red tower, then the front line would basically force Greyhound to overinvest into Papa, giving Koch space to push other parts of the map. But with so many tanks, so many T-64s, and also with the Hyacinth support here, the Koch basically constantly has to just keep tabs on this area and has to position the units in a prediction to potentially like deflect the T-64 attack. Speaking of which, oh no, the cluster plane got shot down, but it could have gotten a perfect hit with those reinforcements flying right there. The tractor pier is now almost out of fuel and in the perfect position in the backlines. Let's see if it. I think with its long aiming time, might actually not be the best, but let's see.
It's more there, I think, as a spotting unit than even as a killing unit. But the Tornado AAs have been reduced quite heavily now. One of them has been shot down here by the MiG-31s as well. That's the power of the MiG-31. Over time, they will get you. They won't get you reliably, but they will get you eventually over 40 minutes of time. That's just the thing with their fire and forget 9 damage missiles. If you have enough dice rolls, you will eventually have murdered everything, and they are basically immortal if you use them correctly. So that's the problem here for Koch. He will be attritioned away completely in the air eventually, and that means he has to do it on the ground, and he now has a force that can do it on the ground here potentially with the Challenger. Question is just, can he stop the next MiG-21 bomber? The Tornado and the tractor up here desperately trying to do so, but he still doesn't really have a goal with this push. Like, even if he keeps Greyhound here out of his zone, and not even that is currently working out. Greyhound even gets a couple more points here. But what is he trying to achieve here? He's still not pushing towards Foxtrot. Still 14 minutes remaining, still only 200 points here, so there are still nearly 10 minutes to do so. But I feel like this is still a bit aimless. BMP-1s die all after another. T-64s here in a desperate defensive battle, so Challenger push is putting up some pressure, but it is not generating much of anything when it comes to actually controlling the map. The Hyacinth on the other side not firing. The Tornado gets gunned down by the MiG-31, so that's a nice kill there. And now the triple MiG-21 cluster comes around, and this might just be GG, because no enemy AA units in the only a couple of tractor piers. They will be too late for even stopping the bomb drop. First one already is perfect. Chieftain and Challenger down. Next Challenger down. And this is likely where you just GG out, right? Like, that was devastating. That's all the Challengers gone. The zone still contested. And no pushing power into any important direction. This is how you play 6, and really well executed. Bombing run there with the triple MiG-21. I love to see it. Using air power decisively and in a force.
Yeah, I think you were right on the money saying that these pushes have no actual end goals, and I think that is the what Greyhound has managed to achieve in the game after multiple mediocre engagements and even bad engagements. The sheer threat of the Book and the T-64 combo is something that has to be built around. Like even with Koch, this on the aggressive, any kind of movement that would allow the T-64s to just go out and do the full-on attack would be a catastrophe. So Koch has just been delaying and kind of sacrificing tactical momentum in building this, building the front line that doesn't really lead anywhere. And now we have Saperi RPOs moving with some BTR support, an infantry leader right behind them, trying to get into Zulu. Warrior uplink is there to do defense, so that's not going to happen for the moment. But I think Greyhound has managed to get not the checkmate, but just a series of checks, and Koch is just running away with the king, trying to losing pieces while trying to keep the game going for the moment. And the Hell Arms doing nice damage, hitting the T-64s, but
Were those
Greyhound has just...
some checkmate puns for the Czech player that we have here with Greyhound, or?
No, that was actually, it was just on I'll have you know.
They felt too good to be random, but I guess okay, because our Sid said Greyhound here from Czech Republic, yeah, makes
Czechia,
yeah,
I'll have you know.
Eagle Lab pushing forward, and the T-64s now are under full control. The Challenger number is just not competitive enough anymore, and even the South just gets overrun by the superior RPO, which is a superior QC infantry here. So the Luftkommjägerführer can't push in there. The air dominance has been established. The artillery is better as well, and yeah, the Warrior plus Challenger is supposed to be the better armor, but if you put them into the tank fights time and again, and that's not gonna win you any points, and the MiG-21s just did their job. Director Pier here pushes actually one back, getting a hit there on one on the spawn, but that's not going to be a game difference. And the Jaguar HE here trying to come in, but the Books are there, stopping the first one. Second one could be get as well, and this is not looking hot for our player in blue. +2 now even for his opponent. 400 points already. MiG-21 cluster not finding a hit this time around. Backdrop here even finding the kill on it. So it's not like Koch is doing terrible in the fighting game, but it is not doing well in the actually capturing ground game. Something that is surprising for someone playing the British, because if somebody is good at just claiming random territory, it should be the British, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I just found out, I was playing Victoria last night, and I found a completely new island I didn't know the British conquered, like 3,000 kilometers east of the Falklands.
Yeah, they just had to put their flag somewhere, and that's what Koch had to do in this game as well, but he failed to do so, and this is really biting him right now, as he desperately is trying to find spots now, but he is way too late for Foxtrot. Foxtrot was open for 25 minutes, or at least 20 minutes, and he never poked it even once. And now he's trying to get up there, but at the same time has to defend Echo, which has become really odd. Zulu is still a point that he has to fight over as well, so he is being really pulled thin, and there are still MiG-21 clusters on the other side. And his tornado numbers have been reduced to, I believe, 1, so he can't reliably kill them. And the Milan 2's here, desperately trying to get the defense on. Challenger still around, but yeah, this push towards Foxtrot might actually even work, but at the same time, he's not going to defend Echo and Zulu whilst also pushing into Foxtrot, most likely. Like, if he can pull this off, this would be massive, but it seems just so unlikely with how little support he has on the battlefield. He has still a couple of important tanks, but he has nearly nothing in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Protestant wind is that you don't get tangled up with the constant continental meat grinders. You don't spend all of your resource fighting peer enemies about some duchy in Slovakia or whatever. No. You go out there and you find the weak spots of humanity, and then you put those people to creation of wealth and transference of that wealth into London. And the urban areas down south here, I think, are the continental meat grinders that the British in this game just didn't really successfully avoid. And they got plugged into that constant ground buildup, so they never actually, found Foxtrot and Bravo and all of their peace-loving tribesmen who could have been put down into the mines,
But yeah, there is a point here that Red Side might be running dangerously low on CVs. There's another UAT, oh no, there's 2 UAT CVs here on the battlefield. I think that should be enough. 1 into Zulu, 1 into Echo, and just go on from there. But the red side has lost a decent amount of CVs over this game, so that maybe might be a bit of a win condition. The challenger also now rotating north. It's only 7 minutes, so the timer is on here, but Koch actually still has a shot here, because his traits weren't that bad. It was just the positioning that was bad for quite a while, and he did get through into Foxtrot. He overwhelmed the defenses there. At the same time, though, his echo position is pretty questionable. The Motostralki are in range with their pretty decent RPG. He gets BMP1 before it can get a side shot against the challenger. Another Motostralki coming in. T-64s engaging here against the challengers. They have good frontal armor, but eventually they will get overwhelmed here by the T-64s. Pretty good guns as well. Rifles going down. Mi-8 and MiG-31 still finding the better engagements, and the UATs are moving in here now to get the capture back. Challenger North, only getting a frontal hit. Good rotation there by Koch. Trying to get on top of it. Conquers gets another stun. Spartan not really in the game to deal with it. And with so much damage against the challenger, even the Pulamachiki with their RPG-22 could be deadly. So even if you kill the Conquerors at this point, and with pushing so close to it, you will. The T-64 is coming around, and the Pulamachiki is something that you can't just drive into at this stage. So the challenger still in big trouble there. +1 reduction here. UATs coming around, taking the south, and the other UATs could come around for Echo here to fully get this back under control. Pulamachiki have to find RPG hits here. Rapira coming around, has line of sight now as well, and the challenger gets stunned and will get rear-shotted by the Rapira that now is firing towards it. It gets into the point, but it gets rear-shotted by the Rapira, goes down. Has the +1 still going on. UATs might I have to rotate north? Yeah, it's exactly doing that. But the other UATs maybe wants to rotate towards Echo, at least rotates into the middle between the points. Those might be the last two CVs actually here, but full control over Zulu now by Greyhound, and the Challenger Mark II there has to push through a decent amount of firepower. It's heavier than the T-55s, but it doesn't have any recon. BMP-1 and the Mi-8 that can stun it down as well, plus maybe a cluster bomber that can come around in time here to actually deal with this as well. Luftstreitjägers rotating north. The UATs is still rotating up there. Another Challenger Mark II coming around. It's only 200 points now. The +2 take would be needed though.
Side shot against the Challenger Mark II out there. If it just kept going, it could have hit, but the BMP-1 with a missile from the side, I think, managed to get one. Oh, that was I think Koch's last chance was just blindly driving the vehicle into Zulu and Bravo at the same time, and I don't think either one of those is going to work anymore.
Yeah, the T-64 plus Rapira plus a Pulamachiki that is out of ammo, but still, that's something that you have to actually count for. Is going to be tough, and the T-64 gets the route, UATs gets in there, will stop the take, and the MiG-21 cluster bomber is back for finishing off the job as well. There goes the Challenger, there goes the last CV in the north, there goes the chance of capturing Bravo in time, and with that, the tick is stopped, and then there we have the GG. Well played here by both sides when it comes to the fights, but in the end, the MiG-21 cluster bombers once more carry the day for 6 Motostralki, and that was a really job well done with the focus on what is important actually in the matchup here by Greyhound.
Yeah, I mean, Koch, as what I found especially impressive with Koch was the speed and purpose and the quality of the airplay. Like the Tornadoes went against the Books repeatedly, against the Books and the MiG-31s, and kept being a threat, kept being there, kept being a problem. All of this was kept Greyhound in this slow build-up period for such a long time. And I think like my earlier analysis about getting tangled into the continental the meat grinders is pretty much correct here. And from my part, like the Sixth's ability to just rely on those good support units, good artillery, good defensive units, and good AA and air was like that Koch had to strike against the strike against the enemy earlier, and the meat grinder stuff just kept taking away resources and creating these suboptimal fights where Greyhound was given ability to sacrifice weak units and to also at the same time keep growing the number of the T-64s. And this attacking with relatively expensive units against relatively weak units or relatively cheap units and not gaining any points there. If Koch had just changed the strategy and instead used like 3 infantry squads worth of points to start threatening Foxtrot, the actual control over Echo that Koch had could have become very tactically significant. You put your Lynx Hell Arms, you put your Milans, and you put your tanks in Echo, and suddenly you can start threatening the enemy when they are trying to reinforce Foxtrot. This, I think, in our analogy, is kind of like the control over the North Sea and the Gibraltar. So Echo being the launching pad for an attack to Foxtrot is a very powerful force, but Echo being a launching pad against the enemy spawn is a very weak position, I think. And Greyhound's ability to just keep the threat going on and prevent Koch from having this mobility won the game in the end. I personally thought that Greyhound was done, like pretty early on. I figured, like, oh, well, unfortunate that it was just the one Luftsturmjäger who could have changed all of this. But no, Greyhound kept going and kept relying on the stuff that is good, and it worked out.
Yeah, and that means now Greyhound is on the match point, so Koch has to bring it around in the next one if he wants to keep his chance on the finals alive. So quick break, then we're gonna be back with game number 2. So here we go, game number 2, and Koch now once more on Chandra. Chandra really, really popular this season in general, and we have 2 divisions that have been pretty popular lately as well. As we have Koch on 9th Panzer, division that just has everything you need after minute 1, and on the other side we have the Spanish Brunette Armored Division, which has MX-30s and MR-10 heavy artillery pieces, plus quite a couple of nice buffs lately, including infantry getting better, and F-18s, which are fantastic on Chandra, because it has such a long airspace, so having decently fast and good long-range fighters is pretty key on it as well. And it seems like Greyhound is going to be the one on the aggression, trying to get the hill between Boris and Anna, and yeah, the defensive play coming out on the other side makes sense. Ninth, not great at the first few picks, but after minute 2, usually a massive powerhouse. So getting into decent position and playing from there is usually what you want to do with that division. And you can't really disrupt the Spanish too easily with something like the Me Too Urn, because the VEC is pretty good at shooting them down with its Bushmaster autocannon, and the MX-30s are pretty good at that as well, so you have to be careful. But the Spanish here really going hard for that Boris Anna push, so have to be careful to not overextend into it.
Yeah, I think something I'm surprised to not see from Koch's side are the BMP-1 Rasvedkas, one of the only forward deployment, I think maybe the only forward deployment unit with an actual ATGM and armor. And so that one can have a very big force, be a very big force multiplier early on. Instead, the Aufklärer are, interestingly enough, going right into the place where the Recon Jinetes attack is going to land between Boris and Anna. So at the very least, there's going to be some early warning over this opener. Koch here is doing the counter pick, and Koch has an ability to bring out tanks in numbers that the Division Acorazada just cannot deal with. The the Spanish have kind of the French syndrome where their tanks are good at everything except tank fights, but they compensate for this with large numbers of good ATGMs. And the ATGMs, of course, are naturally way more defensive. So if the Spanish can use their infantry and their strong recon tab and their strong air tab and some of these gunship helicopters even to get stuff done early on, they can maybe lock the enemy down into an eternal tank buildup, which you can more efficiently counter with your own endless ATGM buildup, which is more valuable. But for that to work out, I think the Jinetes opener just needs to start getting some stuff done. Jinetes are, if you want to use them as assault troops, they only have a one machine gun, but they do have a pretty great anti-tank rocket launcher nowadays. And the VEC 25s, they can have, and their BMR transports as well. They do have enough HE damage to fight through a couple of infantry squads early on. MI2 Urns are also going to spot this, I think, but they don't have Malyutka ATGMs and only 32 rockets. Probably not enough to deal with even these lightly armored vehicles.
Yeah, moving in there will try to get Gregory figured out, but at the same time, the southern push here now coming around. VC getting right on top of the Aufklärers already. Virginite have to be careful to not drive into the AT range there. Ooh, getting quite close, but Aufklärers do miss the first shot and will get stunned down afterwards. VC nearly gets killed by the Meteor, but the Meteor alone versus 2 BMRs, and the Genita likely gonna lose there. There's all the arrows pushing forward as well. BMR opening up fire. The second BMR not quite there to help out. That's in the middle. VC and BMR not helping out the Genite, so the Meteor actually getting a decent amount of damage down there as well. We even have an AA piece there in the rear that is just a bit too far away. Spanish having great 20mm that they even can put into buildings as heavy MGs, so that situation there is a bit awkward here for Greyhound right now, as Meteor does go down. Jinte in the middle does die at the same time though. Anna, pretty open. We even have a VC and an HR-15 rotating far through the south for Greyhound here, trying to get some spawn ambushes going on. Dusty is pushing into that area. And yeah, Koch fully focused onto the center, fully focused onto the big fight, and that's the right choice in my eyes. Even giving up Anna here for a while could be okay if he at the same time starts destroying the enemy in the tank fights in the middle, and that's something that Knife Panzer can for sure do in this matchup if you do it carefully.
Yeah, a decision here for Koch that I'm not the biggest fan of is bringing out zero vet infantry this early on, especially when they're being put to a pretty crucial task of holding the Boris's southern forest from the Jinetes. The zero vet Motorschützen are going to lose into the veteran C1 Jinetes, and but veteran C1 and support from some vehicles, they could easily be supreme, and there probably are some proper infantry, trained infantry in Koch's deck. I don't know why that is not being brought out first. Basically, never should bring out your weak stuff first, because that stuff is going to be doing most of the fighting.
Might find some great ambush here as they rotate around on the flank of the T-72. Get a shot out. Oh, missed though, and get immediately stunned down as enough units spot them. Milan 2 at the same time goes down as well. Genite are really unfortunate with that flank. VEC in the rear does get spotted by the Meteor as well. The HR-15 is getting towards the spawn, but the VEC here in trouble with the Meteor. At 2 vet coming out for it, trying to find the kill against it, and will find the rockets, will find the stun, and with that likely find the kill. HR-15 now is on the spawn, is starting to opening up fire there with its 20mm, not quite able to find the aim, trying to go for the Mi-8, not going to find the kill there, and won't find the 30mm grenade launchers on the ground yet either. And yeah, the hill fight not going well here for Greyhound. The push actually not really working out, as Jinite on the front line now getting overwhelmed by T-72s as well. And I like Koch's position a lot now. The hill fight is just not what Greyhound wanted. His HR-15 getting shut down by the MiG-23 without getting any kills. Greyhound is in a problematic situation and he needs to find a couple of kills here if he wants to stay around, even losing the center to a single Me Too Urn basically because he mispositioned his AA unit and lost agility in the town, allowed the 30mm and the after pushing forward, and with that also spotting all his units in the tree line so that the T-72s could just push it down. This is a really bad opener for the Spanish. They have the late game with the artillery and so on, but you really have to rotate it around towards that, and currently he just doesn't have a good spot for that.
Yeah, and the fact that Anna is open, but Greyhound just wanted to use the Jinetes into getting into the flank of that larger mech attack force, and thus kind of now finally is moving, actually ordering all of the units to go into Anna, not realizing that there is not even an infantry unit guarding it, so you could just easily walk through this. This is something where the helicopter could have been maybe a better usage than sending it to the backlines. And but yeah, the actual fighting front line here, one tow unit not in position, two subliers decently in position, and that's really about it. The T-72s, the BRM support with a bunch of BMP-1s with their missiles in the background here. If the fight happens here for Greyhound is going to be in a pretty bad situation. 20 fusileros going out there to challenge the outlier position, which is important. If you can drive the enemy away from the town, you gain yourself some amazing ATGM and recon positions to hit the backs of those T-72s.
The BEC going down, the BMR is going down on the south to the 30mm grenade launcher and the Me Too. The TOA might even get found before the AMX-30 is around. Even the AMX-30 has to be careful on this range against the Me Too Urn with double vet. AMX-30, okay, can aim up now, gets the kill. But at the same time, also the VEC goes down, and that means the reinforcement roads are now something that Koch can block, and that means Anna basically isn't under pressure anymore because the tanks of Koch can just get down the reinforcement roads there by pushing over the open field. AMX 30 Sublier misses a side shot. TOW not in good position. Currently, Greyhound is in trouble. He still has the more flexible division, but he needs to find a couple of kills and he needs to especially find good positions to use those flexibility units from. And currently, he is roadblocked everywhere on the map. He needs to get the map, center back under control. He is pushing into that. That would be a really important victory, but he's not close to achieving that just yet. MX-30, M2, getting some retaliation. He has an M10 on the battlefield, but yeah, that he ever lost the middle in the beginning is already pretty tough, and getting it back now against T-72s is not going to be easy. His reinforcements arrive in the south, but the T-72s already pushing him hard here. He is in trouble. He needs to get some kills. It's not over now. He still has units with high kill potential, and T-72s are pushing relatively deep right now, so if they ever overextend and the TOW2 finds a side shot, things could start rotating around quite quickly. Or F-18 ATs could find those kills as well, though they don't quite one-shot the M1s. But if the M1 is slightly damaged, they do. And there we go. One kill. Second one coming around, but the Coop is doing a good enough job. So one T-72 M1 is all they will get. They will get out alive. They will be around later. So it's not a bad trade, but it's not quite what Greyhound was hoping for to turn around the tide at this point. It is a start, though, to at least get it a bit slowed down and under control, and maybe bringing it under control in the later stage.
Yeah, Greyhound with the MI2 Urn winning the fight, or at least stopping the infantry advance of Greyhound in the middle town and preventing Greyhound from using that to have the AMX-30s move in and cut the attack into Fedor. The fact that the BMR TOW has had a multiple nice angles where the TOW has been flying towards the enemy, but then a second enemy from Koch has arrived, so Greyhound has to cut off and run away. And the M110 also is not moving too close to the front line, which would increase its effectiveness significantly. So Greyhound now immediately seems to be transforming into a straight-up ATGM turtling for the moment. Getting 4 ATGMs with
great
3
kills here in the south at the same time. Getting a Shilka and the BRM, meaning killing of AA as well, which is key for those F-18s to keep on having the air successes. And the MX-30 EM1s here really doing a good job. Now not quite sure where they should go, because the T-72s obviously are some bit too much for them to chew through, but finding a Ural, and now they should disengage. They have enough killing power that T-72 doesn't want to push into them, getting shot at, and then they can disengage. So it's a rough situation here for Koch to figure out as well, especially with the lack of recon there on his side in that area after losing the BRM. And Saplier trying to find a flanking shot here as well. Toe is in a good spot there for potential flanking shot against the T-72 MEV as well. So this situation here currently relatively precarious for Koch's frontal units. Maybe getting his support units caught out there pretty big. Ooh, MEV gets stunned down. They have another push of the F-18AT, failing to do a hit, and Hoops keeping it away from the front line. MX-30 pushing forward, does smoke off though as it realizes an MEV is there, gets caught out, gets killed. So both sides here with some key kills, both sides here pleading units, which on Chandra means that the front line stays flexible and people will have weak spots. So this is still a really, really interesting game. 177-point leads for Greyhound in the long run will be nice as well, though not really a decisive factor just yet. And him still not having control over the center of the town still has to bug him, because that really is what he wants to really stop MX-30s, T-72s from pushing towards Feodor.
Yeah, and the reinforcements, the Zapadoras coming in here, are actually not going into the town as you would expect from engineer troops, but instead are moving to actually infantry counterattack the mech force that is currently sitting into that kind of crossroad forest area. Now, the TOA Milans with Milan 1s, the transports, transporting Milan 2s, and a bunch of BMR TOWs with the TOW 2s, they have now landed, and they are moving out here, and they, even with the limited recon that Greyhound has in the front line right now, they have a lot of potential to punish Koch's heavy investment into tanks. Oh, the BMP-1 managing to take one of those out, though, so great positioning for the outplayer BMP-1, and maybe even using that mediocre stealth for something good. Now, with two bombers, one Phantom, one Hornet, Hornet AT, Phantom bomber, and problem is, even if the coup misses, it basically takes half the cohesion away from the plane. So the plane has to keep flying around a little bit to regain that cohesion, else the second one immediately stop its pass. HE plane managing to go down there, destroying a Sturm and wounding a coup, and only one of those missiles hitting in the end. But oh no, here comes the MiG-23s. They're going to follow up.
They get one. Can they find the second? They can't quite find the second one.
Oof.
The warp speed of the F-18 coming just online in time to getting out there to another dimension. And there comes the return. F-18 AA getting behind one of the MiG-23s, getting killed there. So in the end, a fine trade for Greyhound, getting his AT plane number 2 out there, but doesn't want to use it right now. AA is too good. So this is not great here. And the situation on the front line still stable, but M110 starts to get a really nice chew onto the enemy here as well. The second one would be great here in the near future. And the front line now is where Spanish feel a bit more comfortable. Enough ATGMs out there to make any T-72 think twice. And this is kind of maybe the point where you have to start bringing out the T-72S a bit more, but they can do ATGM duels and start reducing the TOW2 launch platforms in numbers, or use artillery for that. But that's not going to be easy either. Yes. Otherwise, the T-72s maybe could do it with a smoke screen or so, but it needs setup now. You can't just roll around with T-72s and expect them to work anymore, because the TOW2s will kill them off too quickly.
Yeah, so recon tank with a kinetic penetrator, getting a nice hit on the T-72. Artillery from both sides being slightly off target here, but Greyhound at this point, even though 9th Panzer, of course, scales so much better than the than Brunette does. In this moment here, I think the status quo holding is a victory for Greyhound. Greyhound can keep buying and importantly repairing those planes so that they can be out in time to punish the eventual attack. The M110 artillery getting a perfect hit here in a T-72 move, though the T-72s are using their famously quick retreat speed. They're moving backwards and escaping this bombardment. There aren't that many. Okay, now with the T815, there are actually enough munitions for Koch here to sustain for a moment. And with a second M110, that's going to be very useful. M110s, though, currently, yeah, still a little bit off target in all of these cases. I think Koch is just being very nice about moving units, very nice about having the feel on where the enemy can spot them, where they can't. Sturm destroying one of the Rolands, even though, of course, air supremacy does belong to either the Coups or the Hornets, depending on if you're doing ground or air AA. With the T-72S now being significantly wounded, tanks are firing at each other, BMP-2 opening up a concourse against the Sublier, missing, but Subliers do not have stabilizers, so if they're moving, they will miss their shots.
Getting a kill against one T-72S though.
Ooh.
But paying with a Sublier and a tow vehicle for it. So in the end, a fair trade there. And yeah, the MR10s keep on missing right now. They will try to aim again. One of the reasons why they keep on missing is that there is a lack of recon infantry on the front line. So the units of Greyhound don't quite know where the enemy is at.
Here we have it.
And yeah, there comes the napalm now.
Signature unit.
Makes the life of the French a lot, well, the Spanish here rather, a lot more annoying.
The same thing.
AMX-30 stressfully trying to get out of the flames, down to 1 hit point, and it actually does survive for now. So yeah, this is a problem, as now the follow-up push comes. The napalm launcher used a lot of rockets there from one salvo, but can get another shot around. Sublier trying desperately to hold the line. More of them coming around. And the F-18s here, which are the big difference to the French. Really, the Spanish bought the coolest units of quite a couple of nations. And yeah, trying to get a kill there, getting a T-72. Another Sublier going down. And the Coups do miss again. F-18s staying up there. Push comes towards the zone now though, and the 152mm artillery trying to get some nice kills here as well. MX-30 once more having to push forward. Mi-8P trying to stand their ground. Ooh, Sublier, good hit there against the T-72, getting the engine incendiary crit, dealing a bit more damage, but MEV has the back of its T-72 brethren, and only a single Sublier not going to be able to hold this. CV now coming in 21 minutes. And here is where the take for Koch is going to start. And the question is, will it ever end again? As Greyhound looks pretty weak here at this point. Okay, he will at least kill the CV, so at least keeps it on a +1 for now. But his frontline there is in deep trouble. BMP-2s and T-72s pushing really hard, and he just doesn't have the cohesion of forces there anymore to really have something against it. Once more, not having the town is just biting him so massively, and that he didn't fight harder for it in the early game, and that he mismicroed his AA unit there cost him so much in a matchup where you just need to be the more flexible and more aggressive unit. And oh no, MR10 getting counter batteried as well because it just stayed too static for too long. So that likely going to go down as well. That is the biggest asset that Greyhound had on the battlefield, just going up in flames there. And with that, the situation here is really desperate now for Greyhound.
Yeah. Now here comes 2 AT planes and 1 bomber. The bomber has a bad bomb load, and the bomber also getting tagged and destroyed by the 3 Coups already. 3 Coups really are the power base here. The M110s not the M110s not getting value out, not having enough Jinetes out there in the front line or other recon units. That's really been a long-term loss for Greyhound. Greyhound kind of just needed that to work out because the early infantry attack with Jinetes didn't work out. The ATGM net has never produced catastrophic results for Koch, and then the A10s and then also the airplanes have kind of been just not getting the results needed. The win conditions for Greyhound are increasingly limited. Now the defense in depth with Milan 2s and Milans and TOS is working out reasonably, doing damage there. Another T-72 once again, but second Milan also opening fire, this time the BMP2. So, oh wait, not. No, this is just missing. But yes, this and apparently the BMR artillery that's getting counter batteried pre-aimed a corner smoke for Greyhound's units. Oh, the C-15 missing there, unfortunately. TOL2 also not getting the shots.
And we saw Greyhound trying to get a counter push towards center, but the Fargod missile alone were enough together with the 30mm grenade launcher to pull them off there. Once more being supported from the middle, once more that middle is just... It's super annoying for Greyhound to deal with. Whenever he tries to rotate something around, those 30mm grenade launchers just kill him off, and maybe he should have focused his M110 to fire support on getting control over that back instead of trying to just gain some random shots onto the enemy in the forest. But this is now all too late and all just what if scenarios, because the situation is what it is right now. The center is fully in control of Koch, and it will need a lot of good runs here from the Air Force to get this. Coop at least goes down. This would be nice, but at the same time, yeah, the flanks are just not really well enough equipped. VEC is trying to do some backline action here again. If they could find the ARM 70, that would be big, but the ARM 70 is in a pretty well defended spot now as well on the front line. F-18 or C-15 in the Spanish service, likely gonna find another MiG-23 here. Nope, that just gets out in time. Well, yeah, VEC here desperately lurking for some big kills in the rear. And the one in the north rotating around as well. So those are the kind of things that Greyhound needs to have working for him now if he wants to have a chance. Loses a VC in the middle at the same time. And yeah, his position around Feodor is just really, really bad. And that could easily spill into Elena or Gregory any moment now. So situation deteriorating quickly, and that means he quickly needs those kills. VC is going for them now. 152mm has a direct fire capability. The Acacia potentially could one-shot the VEC if it gets a shot out, so the VEC has to be quick and careful. But it might find the ARM 70 here, so that would be a nice little kill. I'm not quite sure that it would be game-changing, though. VEC gets in range.
Engage in max range.
ARM 70 under fire. And there we go. Blows up the first unit. Could find
80 planes destroying a T-72S, but paying with it for its life.
Yeah, we're losing one there is pretty big. Second coup salvo coming around. Doesn't get a hit. More 10 not immediately finding the coups either though. The VEC got a kill here on to the ARM 70. It hasn't found the 152mm yet. Will try to find one, but actually might get killed by that one as it was aiming towards it. Yeah, it's reacting there. And, ooh, VC is aiming quicker, but, ooh, gets missed. The accuracy is only 30%, so even on this low range, the accuracy is not great. So VC gets another kill. The next 152mm might be in danger. Me-8 now spotting for all of this. Coops actually even might be in danger. There's actually surprisingly little around. And if you get the Coops, this would be big, though. After losing one of the AT planes, it's not as big as it could be. And there is still a storm, or two storm actually, around trying to deal with the VEC, so it has to be careful. But it is going for the Coops. Koch currently not really countering it. The BMR is in the north doing some work, so Greyhound is trying to gain the advantages that he can out of the speed of the Spanish. But he's not quite getting there just yet.
Yeah, there is Koch doing a corner smoke attack into down southeast. Meanwhile, couple of Fusilero squads and BMR TOWs are moving behind these VEC and a command unit to actually secure Dimitri, and there is basically nothing defending Dimitri. And with a full-on support equipment, air cover, everything's out there. So Dimitri is likely going to cut the Koch +2 in the down to a +3, down to +1. And as soon as Koch's artillery just starts targeting the southeast corner smoke, the Fusileros and the Milan 2s are more than enough to deal with this for the moment. And yeah, there's smoke in this game lasts for like, what is it nowadays? Like 25 seconds. Used to be a minute, and then it was turned into 30 at some point. But yeah, with a command tank and 2 Hornets once again flying in the front line here, the VEC in the back line destroying the jammer helicopter, not being able to take out the coups, but now engaging an Mi-24P, which is the most high-tech variant, which has the 30mm cannon of its own, hunted down by Motorschützen. That VEC really did pay for itself. Maybe a little bit too late in the game, but if Greyhound is to come back here, I think that backline action probably is going to be a part of it.
Yeah, he's now trying to do the northern roll-up. He could maybe have success with that, as there are currently no reinforcements. He still has a VEC that could ambush reinforcements into that section, but issue is he needs to get control and keep control over Ellen and Gregory, and then maybe push towards center from there with the weird action that you can do as the Spanish and making it wide and thin. Ninth is not the greatest at it, though also by far not the worst. It has relatively cost-efficient units, just that it is a bit more expensive than the Spanish on average, and that...
Aufklärer almost destroying the BMR PC up north, with T-72 getting into, and second T-72 moving into cover. BMR's got to be careful.
Yeah, 2 TOW launchers are with this, so T-72s live a dangerous life up there as well. But yeah, the MUVs rotating around, GMs coming in, F-18s flying over all of this. Corner smoke in Theodore as well. It's not going to be super efficient, but it's going to buy some time and some attention. MX-30 Recon gets a good hit against the MUV. The ATGM F-18 is around as well. Shilga's being brought around. Sablier, oh no, Sablier doing a big mistake there. Yeah, getting satchelled by a Fagot. Something that you just can't afford at this point as Greyhound, but at least keeps it under control for now. F-18s in the sky. MiG-23, the weaker fighter out of these two, gets shut down, as the F-18 also got the first shot, but Coop's retaliating. Shilka might even find a kill there. Barely not finding that 1 hit point damage, as the MR-10 trying to get the kill here on the Fagot team. F-18 AT once more failing to get the hit there. It has the Maverick Gs, so it has actually decent accuracy on those, but just can't quite find the hit. AMX-30 goes down to the T-72 MAV as well. The northern push not going quite to the extent where you need it as Greyhound. Finally finds the T-72 there with the F-18, but only on the way out, as MAVs still in control, 2 of them still around, and the TOW-2 launcher gets smoked off by BMP. Push back towards Dimitri happening, at the same time push towards Elena happening as well. And it's already Koch in the lead. If it would be the lead of Greyhound right now, I feel like Greyhound's spot still could be manageable, but with him not being in the lead, he just needs so many kills. He is getting a good amount of kills right now. This list is starting to grow, but it's not going to be easy to keep this up.
Yeah, if you zoom out, you can see that Greyhound is achieving one of the greatest concaves of WARNO League history. The problem is that this concave is going to have to crush in itself because of the 400 points point deficit. And going back to the opener and my earlier commentary, one of those earlier strategies just should have worked. Nothing as a whole has really affected Koch's main plan of doing the decisive mech battle, and even in capturing the northwestern point here is only delaying the inevitable. And Koch, if Koch had like 1/3 less units, or if Koch was currently, under a couple of 100 points of a point deficit, situation could be completely different. But that Greyhound has to attack into all of this, that's a little bit too much. Like 9th Armoreds, it does have a lot of fagots and concursors. It also has grenade machine guns. It has great coups. It has the Sturms. So many good defensive units into the late game. And the advantages of the Spanish, which is largely ability to bring out good and cheap infantry, like not really committing into that town fight and not really committing into that southwestern forest fight, kind of just gave Koch the space to build this force that you right now can see just pressuring the low-tech Spanish forces pretty badly.
And yeah, MX30 RE going down there as well. And this is the final nail as with Gregory push. Koch does get the W here in game number 2. And that means we have the game number 3 to go through as well, as Koch and Greyhound now tied 1-1. Really, really solid and just classic 9th Panzer gameplay here. Koch never sweating too much, getting the napalm launcher when he needed it to get the crucial 2 kills and 2 positions that allowed him to get the tick online. And then Greyhound just couldn't really cope with it. He lost the center town too early. The Meteorns doing Meteorn things. They are just pesky little helicopters. They are on paper pretty unspectacular, and you should be able to deal with them. But Greyhound just stumbled and didn't, and that kind of cost him the game. Like the 3 Meteorns just got too much value, and this was the big problem here. And in the end, Koch, after getting into the running, just ran with the game to the end. So GGVP here, and let's get into the third game action so that we can get through the end of the stream as well. And this matchup is going to be an OG one, as we have the first tech division of the game versus one of the first East German divisions that ever got acted to the game. On the other side, fourth motto, a division that was really, really meta defining for a while, but not quite as long as 79th has been doing that, as that division has been around for a good bit, and it never has been terrible, and it has been top of the branch for quite a while, and currently I would argue it's back into S tier, especially because of the SU-27 buff, but also, or SU-24 in its case, as the Hull Altitude Bomber buff, but also because of the really, really nice T80PV buff that hit the division.
Yeah, so I was asking you before we put the cast up here, or the stream up here, do you think Greyhound has a chance? Because 79th is really good, and 79th is really good on Kryde specifically, I think, because of its its mix of the rapiras, the cubes, and having like no specific weaknesses, but also the ability to play either like mech heavy infantry or just straight up get the tanks up, or if you want to just do infantry fights, you have enough Sapere RPOs, you have Spetsnaz crews to kind of do pseudo forward deployment with the Motora Svetkas, and then you can start following it up with either these grenade launcher equipped BMP-1s, the BMP-1Gs, or and TO-55 flame tanks. Like 79th really does have everything. And what fourth motto, one of my also like light infantry, very much close to my heart, large special forces openers. What we can see Greyhound doing here is Greyhound is opening wide to capture Gregory, capture the crucial crossroads area between Dimitri and Fedor, and then also defending Boris. But Koch still has the offensive momentum here and is basically going to do a pretty expensive landing supported by a Tunguska and a rocket helicopter into Bravo. And I don't think the BMP-1 Motorschützen are going to be enough to deal with this. Meanwhile, a lot of points and are being used to capture the Gregory and the middle position. But if the infantry setup there, they're not going to be able to necessarily do anything
You know, and
without
especially there's the
Koch.
Mi 8, and the AA is just a Shilka, and it's too far behind right now. Greyhound will have to do some magnificent juggling to keep those Vulture Makers
No.
alive, losing the Fagot immediately, losing the Vulture Makers in the north immediately as well. Umbrella 2 team going down there as well. The Mi 8 Rockets really doing some good work here for Koch. I'm never being a big fan of the Mi 8 Rockets. They are pretty expensive and they aren't the greatest out there, but they have done a good job here. MiG-29 versus MiG-29.
Ooh.
Greyhound getting lucky. Tunguska might just get back on him there. Nope. Getting out of time, so he gets away with it. Okay, that was a bit of a momentum killer there for Koch in the south. And the Shilka now finds the Me Too as well, so at least the south is going well for Greyhound. If you're gonna get onto Fyodor, that means that he can kind of contain Boris and be fine with it. He isn't investing further into it, moving his conquerors into a defensive position, rotating around his mod Schützen as well, so that is all wise and good. Trying to salvage a bad opener. He kept both Fallschirmjäger special forces in the south alive, so he can bring them back into strength and then have the better fighting infantry in those fights in the south, so that is all nice as well. But yeah, losing Boris here early on is a big blow to the infantry division. Usually you want to contest that forest for a while, but that just didn't happen here.
Yeah, the Motora Svedka and Spetsnaz GRU already moving up the plateau, and if they can start getting recon advantage over that area, it's going to be a huge buff for Koch actually going up and capturing that center position. Spetsnaz GRU down south are looking at this at the other side, other reinforcement roads, and the Motorschützen, I guess the Motorschützen, they can get in here and they can at least put some kind of a stop here, but this is like the thing about Fourth is that Fourth wants to open up strong with the forward deployment and then immediately start going into cheap combined arms that will build up numbers and get engagements with those numbers and use their veterancy to compensate for their low-tech units. But now with this large and wide front line and with Koch having so much good spotting recon all around the place. Okay, at least the Motor Svedka are being caught up here, so Greyhound knows what's happening here. The ability for the Rapira and the T-80 to just fight off the cheap combined arms on long range is going to be pretty bad for Greyhound. Greyhound doesn't want this to be just another game where the points difference is like 200 points and the enemy is playing a significantly heavier armored division. And I think that's what the Fedor attack is going to be. There are already pretty decent reinforcements with Rasvedka BMP2 and Rapira holding Fedor. And with the tanks moving up to center and basically forcing Greyhound to start defending and even recapturing center in a moment, this Fedor attack has to go perfectly. Greyhound investing early, 4 minutes in, investing into a heavy artillery piece, or Akatsiya basically. And this is one of those investments at this part of the game that it really needs to pay off. The Rapiras are going to have to start dying soon because the enemy already has another T-80, and the T-80 is going to be moving into Fedor. The Greyhound's chances here, Greyhound's strengths, arguably helicopters and air. The Koch does have Koch's division has great, decent fighters and great anti-air as well, but all of the anti-air is not up yet. So around the Fedor area, for instance, cheap MiG-21 bombers could easily change the situation in Greyhound's favor right now, but not later. Sooner or later, there's going to be too much AA for that to happen.
Yeah, the situation here is still okay for Greyhound, though. He is getting the point tick that you want to get. Like, a +2 feels pretty nice with this division on this map. You hope for +3, but +2 is usually what you can aim for. And getting a stun here now on a T-80B in the middle, getting a kill on a T-80B would be big. Obviously not going to happen easily with just 80 gems. You need to have a finisher and there is none right now around here. The BRDM would be a good target as well, but the Acacia shouldn't just aim for that. It should, aim for something like the infantry blob in the south, which is doing right now. Fallschirmjäger Führer went down though. Fallschirmjäger SMG teams now rotating around back in there, and Modschützen just being stuck there in the rear. I'm not quite sure what they're doing just on the cliff side there. That looks a bit weird. Okay, yeah, they now start moving again. Those units are needed here. If you can get Theodore under full control and can get deep into the forest there, clean out the Saperi RPO, then your situation here, I think, as Greyhound is pretty okay. I like the Rapira positioning that he's trying to set up for as well. But yeah, you need to get some kills here. And the Acacia, I feel like, is way too far behind. That needs to get closer to the front line because currently it's just not hitting stuff. Like the Quad Stika on the other side, which is the lighter artillery piece, but having 2 vet and being way closer to the front line likely has better chances of getting its kills than the Acacia from all the way in the rear. Acacia now rotating closer to the front, still not quite as close as it could go, but at least getting into a position where it can start getting some hits. BRDM now capturing Feodor back. That will stop the tick. No CV around there right now anymore after the loss of Fallschirmjäger Führer, as Greyhound didn't rescue that, so 300 points it is for now. That is not great. T80 overextends though. Those are the kills that you need as 4th Modschützen to keep the momentum up. This is big. This T80B kill in the middle might allow him to clean out center, might allow him to even maybe get to the Rapira position. Likely not quite that, because there is a T80B VK coming up behind all this. But at least means that center for now is something that is out of conscious reach, at least for capturing. And he likely gonna lose the Vesnas GAU position there in the forest in the near future as well. The 152mm Acacia is still not hitting anything here. So yeah, Greyhound not quite generating the value that you were asking for. But the rest of his units currently at least do something here. Rapira needs to unload. Oh, TDBV. No. Yeah, does get a route.
It's a route. It's a route. And it's a gunshot.
Yeah, there is the kill. T-55s are great against BMP2s, are great as infantry fire support, are okay at keeping T-80BVs at bay with the fast missile. Bastion missile is good at that. They're terrible at killing T-80BVs. They basically can't do it. So that is a bit of the problem. T-80BVs, you only have a couple of units that can kill them. So you have to really be selective on how you engage them and when you engage them. And you basically usually want to put the enemy under so much pressure that they can't afford too many of them. And that's currently not really happening just yet. And that's a big problem for Greyhound.
Yeah, at least the Fedor attack with the 3 T-55 AM2Bs, which are the most expensive, most modernized tanks here. All of on 0 vet.
MiG-23 getting in there. Does get a good hit. It doesn't quite get the kill. And Coop does get a hit on it. Tunguska's... Oh no, it flies directly over Tunguska, but Tunguska is turned off on its guns, so it only has its missiles. Seaplane there, making it so that the MiG-23 actually makes it out. MiG-29, on the other hand, not having that luxury and does go down for this. That MiG-29 should not have been where it was. It should have stayed further back. But the T-55s, ooh, smoke on the T-80BV. Does stay alive. Modredredka go down. S-224 cluster comes in and might find a double kill. At least should find 1 kill here. As yeah, 1 T-55 goes down and the MTLBU supply plus a Fallschirmjäger SMG go down behind it as well. So yeah, good first run of this SU, and that's where you want the MiG-29s to be. And that MiG-29 loss, that MiG-29 just going too deep, will potentially bite Greyhound here in the long run.
Yeah, and with that T-80BV just surviving on 1 health, even after that duel with the T-55, like all of those 3 tanks should have attacked at the same time. But that was the way to actually push through there. But oh, now the Acacia from the long ranges manages to snipe out that Rapira. That's very, very crucial, because that means the T-55s can now move up. But unfortunately, T-80BVK already was put up there to serve as a point guard, and even though the Fallschirmjäger can now contest the zone, Mi-8 rocket could possibly get shot down by the Shilka if it gets into a bad corner, but and also the BRDM2 holding the middle. can be killed. Kube is out of ammunition, so there are still weaknesses in Koch's play here. And with the Motorschützen landing that way and trying to remove the BRDM by force, all of this is still not that much momentum going on for Greyhound. Greyhound can keep on holding this 1-point lead for the moment, but it's just going to be about sacrificing planes and keep sending in infantry to do those very close range defenses. And Saperi RPOs, not the best after they've launched all their incendiary rockets, but launching their incendiary rockets, they can just basically win an infantry fight for free.
Yeah, artillery not quite getting the hits. Rapira under fire though, as we see in the north, Motostralki pushing forward, Shilka there trying to hold the front line, and Motorschützen keeping it alive against the BMP2, so a couple of annoying losses there for Koch, and at least the center is fully back under control, but the situation around Feodor is not looking as promising. At least a couple of nice kills there as well, Mi-8 going down, like, this is how you want to deal with the 79. If you want to kill its support units and you want to keep a take online against it for as long as possible, as fourth Motorschützen here. So in the end here, Greyhound situation not looking quite as terrible as it could be. BRDM coming in here for the center though. Motorschützen just barely out of line of sight there, having to retreat from the Mi-24 and no AA around to help it out. That Mi-24 really doing a good job, as artillery needs to get back on the BRDM position, is firing back onto it, so likely the +1 in there gonna return. Faltering a Führer getting into the south as well, but there are 2 T-80 BVs by now there. 27 minutes to go. Motorschützen trying to push forward, but the Mi-24 is just too strong. BRDM being pushed out.
Kube was destroyed with a Rosca BMP2.
Oh, and the Kube also finds a hit here. Seed plane gets an seed missile out, does stop the enemy Kube from getting a hit against the MiG-23, but the Tunguska is still around. Ooh, getting a hit, but not a kill. Plane still surviving. Batstika under counter battery fire, but the Akacia on its own won't get the hit there. BRDM also positioned into a better spot here. Shilka overextended against the Mi-24. Rapira gets the kill. MP2s advancing in the middle, pushing the 7mm MG there back as well. There is the momentum currently going. Greyhound losing the momentum, and that's just something that you just can't afford to lose here this early on. You need to go over the 20-minute mark if you want to break the 79th chance of getting back here. Keep the +1 going, get up to 700, 800, 1000 points, and then play defensive for the last 20 minutes, but that's not quite where we are just yet. So this +1 needs to be fought for as long as possible, and it's going down already. We are the M2 there in the middle, just doing a really, really good job for Koch. And the situation here for Greyhound, pretty desperate around Feodor. It has to retreat there already, won't be able to push in, so has to settle up there.
No side shot against the D55 AM2B. Damn it.
He needs to get the kill on that BRDM. And maybe he needs something better than just trying to heal it with 1 Akacia. 2 Akacias targeting the area actually make it so that the BRDM can't stay there. But yeah, it's only 1 Akacia currently doing it, so that's not gonna work out. Can just rotate a bit around it and will never get hit. And that means that this area is safe. ARM-70 could do it as well against the BRDM. Just hit it with the rocket artillery, but obviously that's a pretty big investment. Cluster Bomber also getting a good hit here. We'll find the CV in the middle, and we'll even start to take with that for Koch already. This is really not what you want to have happen, and yeah, with the Kube down, the SC-24 does survive as well. With the MiG-29 down, like, those things really come to bite Greyhound now, that he lost those units unnecessarily. Conqueror is going down there now as well, and this is looking pretty rough for the center of Greyhound right now. T-80 is already out and about now, and he just doesn't have enough ATGMs there to stop them. He can hurt them a bit, but he can't kill them.
Yeah, it's the once again, here we can see the MiG-21 cluster bombers coming in here, could maybe get a kill. At least the Seed launches. Seed once again missing, finally getting an actual kill with the Seed plane, but there's already too much Tunguska's. That thing I said earlier that was going to happen with too many AAs, too many MiG-29s out there in the front line, and suddenly the ability to bring tempo and to punish the enemy's overextensions or to support your attacks, you just lose it at fourth motor. You just don't have enough to contest it. Not on a map like Kreide. Like the coach was able to basically do the Boris landing completely successfully with by sacrificing some rocket helicopters. And since then, Koch has just been smuggling and moving up recon units around the plateau. Right now, Rasvedka BMP2 is doing that duty, and just never risking the T-80s, just using them as exactly as they are supposed to be used, to tank a few missile shots. Oh, and there's a bailout, and suddenly the game is going to change, maybe. Oh, no. So at least the Akatsias. Okay, the
yeah,
Akatsias,
but that's even at this point, yeah, the Akatsiya is out of ammo. MiG-23BN trying to finish off the job, because even killing off the T-80BV is not an easy job right now, and the MiG-23 is not doing it. So that's already a set of sacrifice points. That's actually already a point return for the T-80BV. And yeah, just nothing can kill it. Nothing can kill it.
Plane, I'm sorry. Yeah, the plane didn't have AT weapons on for some reason. Only fired the rockets. Yeah. But yeah, it's a weak situation here for Greyhound. Now we have the Fallschirmjägerführer can go in here, maybe know that Rasvedka BMP burst is down, and there are no leaders on board for Greyhound, so they need to be ordered in, and as they are ordered in, the tick and the bad trades just keep on happening.
Yeah, and at the same time, Koch even trying to, and likely being relatively successful with pushing towards Gregory. Chilka there having to disengage away from the Rasvedka. The BMP-1 PG could be stopped by the Fallschirmjäger Medis, and then the situation could be get under control, but Theodore is out of reach. Center is the only point that can be contested and potentially captured currently by Greyhound. Boris basically being untouchable since the beginning of the game, and that is just not a position that you want to play out from as fourth in this game, as you usually want to play this from a position of power, where you have the point advantage. BMP fails to get the T-80BV in time, the bailout gets removed, and the T-80BV back in action, gets the kill against BMP-1, gets out of this, and that means that even that kill was denied to Greyhound. Even the bailout he can't quite follow up on. Best group, Spetsnaz JU under fire in the north, starting to get killed, and yeah, this is a pretty fine situation right now for Koch to be in. BRDM on the way, +1 ticking. T-80s on the battlefield, not in massive numbers, but in enough numbers to make it pretty annoying for the enemy to deal with. Rapira here pushing forward, and Tunguska goes down. Coop killing would be pretty big, but that's not happening here. T-80BV B not quite. T-55B AM 2B, so that way around not quite doing that. MiG-23MF trying to maybe just bomb it. No, bombs the T-80BV in the north. Mutchinson, just not quite having the line of sight there. So the T-80BV able to get out of there. The ICD is fast enough to just run away. CV gets back in, will stop the tick, 300 points short. So the 152mm still can maybe do a bit of work, but the front line is just not looking hot enough. The Rapira goes down, Mutchinson goes down. This PD is just not what you want at this stage as Greyhound. The front line is just not where you want it to be. The early game, a bit too rough, and his push into Theodore, not quite decisive enough, plus losing the air control and having Su-24s running rampant on you. That's the power of 79th. They have everything at the moment, and they can use it all.
And I would like to bring attention also to the up-vetted Gvozdikas. Instead of the standard heavy artillery Akatsias, the Gvozdikas have a quick rate of fire and quick salvo length, and they're way cheaper. And with the 30-second reload time, when they're up-vetted, these things can basically just keep on firing. Now, knowing that Koch has heavy bombers and heavy tanks, there is no need for heavy artillery. the light upwetted artillery is the perfect counter to massed ATGMs and the Rapiras. Like the Wostikas can just constantly keep removing and threatening infantry squads and fagots and concurses, which are the main like core of Greyhound's forces, and especially on Kryde, where you have this altitude differences, height differences on the ground, Vostikas can get pretty close to just fire, so the low range and low accuracy doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, Coop goes down, and the airplay with that might be back in action here, but it's just too little on the front line right now. That's the big issue. Like, if the frontline situation would be a bit better, if the early game would have gone a bit better, then those airplay could work out. He got a couple of good kills. It's not like Greyhound went down without a fight. A couple of nice TADB kills and so on early on, but those first losses on Boris already were such a stop to the momentum that you need as for fourth is supposed to be the division with the cheapest combined arms on the battlefield, but a combined arms against a division that doesn't quite have a combined arms. Like, this is the goal that you have as fourth, always keeping the enemy from just quite having everything in the tool belt that they need to have a full combined arms assembled, but your combined arms is assembled basically with one tick. You get a cheap BMP1, a really solid infantry with the Mordschützen, cheap tank with the T-55, some Shilkas, which are cheaper producers, some cheap manpads with the Eaglas that are still pretty effective, Coops, which are the cheaper Books, and cheap Mi-24s, and then just have the full-on toolkit around MiG-23s, which are long-range fighters that are cheap, but they're also not that great. So if the enemy ever gets to a combined arms, their combined arms usually levels out above you, especially with a heavy tank division like 79, but the goal is to not let them get there, and they got here. They got here quite early, and this is the problem here. Tick is stopped for now, but still 17 minutes remaining, and the Coop line is back online. Coops need more killing here. Air needs more domination, and the Coop of Greyhound currently is the one in trouble as it gets hit by the artillery, and there it goes down. So Mi-24P here now arriving on the front line. Tunguska's really good against that as well. That it's pretty annoying here for Greyhound as well, that his helicopter rush is not really an option in this matchup because the enemy just has the better anti-helicopter AA. BRDM capturing the middle now will get the +1 online, and it's looking pretty dire here for Greyhound. He would need some big flanking maneuver in the south, I feel like. Like, Feodor is the only hope here at this stage, and you need to play that really ingenious with good airplay and with good ground play at the same time. It's not impossible at this stage. Like, there is still a bit of weakness in Koch's frontline, a bit of an over-reliance on tanks, and so on, but it's really, really tough.
Yeah, this is I go back to the way I opened this cast, which is, do you think Greyhound has a chance? And I think once again, it's kind of like the Brunette game. Is you just need to get stuff done. The lighter division, the more aggressive division needs to get stuff done. And on Kryde especially, I'd say that it's especially difficult because you can basically counterattacking Boris if you lose Boris is very difficult, but over defending Boris in the opener could also be a death sentence if your enemy wants to do the highway push from Fedor to Dmitry. So what, you're gonna overinvest into both of those? Are you going to leave your center undefended? Or are you going to leave Gregory undefended? I think maybe that would have been the play, just not first minute buy of units into Gregory, but just opener, don't have anything there, and just focus everything on attacking Fedor, and then using that little hillside to put up a bunch of ATGMs that can help support your center in fighting against them, like regular conventional attacks. That could have maybe been the thing, even if Bravo or Boris was lost in the opener, that could have still been done. But just trying to play the whole map, playing the whole map with the expensive Fallschirmjägers especially, was just not efficient enough against the powerhouse division like 79.
Yeah, And the airplay here currently still generates some value. Like, this is potentially still the thing. The issue is that the enemy air still is around as well. Like, if the air control would have been 100% here, if the MiG-29 would have survived, if the coup play on the ground was a bit better so that it wouldn't have been spotted so easily, like the Spetsnaz GIU position here was kind of ruining a lot of things for Greyhound, then this would still be somewhat manageable, but because he has really done a good job with his strike craft, but the Su-24 is just ruining it, and his MiG-29 is not being around to deal with that, just making the life a lot harder. He still has a bit of time to do something here to get into Feodor, because he is still ahead in points, but he needs to hold on to that then for a long while, and his infantry is currently down to one Fallschirmjäger there that tries desperately to get stuff done. T-55 there getting around. MiG-23 HE coming around, trying to get a bombing run here. Will get a kill against one T-80, but will pay for it with its life, and that's a trade that is okay, but it's not going to bring you back here, and you need trades that bring you back here, and they just not happening right now. Hoop finds a Mi-24, but the infantry all dies right now. Mudschützen hold the front line. SPW can't get in. If the SPW can't get in, then you won't get the enemy before they get up to the tick, where they are ahead of you in points, and you will never get a plus tick here as Greyhound again. Coop also going down to the artillery here again. The Gwatzdikas with the 2-vet, 3-vet even with the CV currently next to them, doing a really good job. That means also that their aim time is down to 11 seconds, so they can be really, really reactive with their target firing.
Yeah, this is here we can see the helicopter basically potentially getting some damage done against the Feder attack, but everything is so deeply in undercover. The coups are just firing at such long ranges, and now with another Tunguska being out here to deal with the Hind, this is no counterattack in sight for center, and probably don't want to do that anyways because it's such a dangerous area to counterattack right now. D55 AM2s, they gotta show right now. They gotta get something done. There are only 18 and 15 penetration infantry as well as a T80. Let's see how fast they can deal with those infantry units before the RPGs drive the mechs off.
Yeah, T-55 AM2s here now, rotating forward as well, trying to get around. SPW rotating into the point, but the Motorstralkies just immediately getting on top of them. Center position can't be pushed back into. We have a plane here with an SC-24 cluster once more out. No AA there around, so that likely just gonna get the kills here against the T-55. CV, SPW moved out. There comes the SC-24. This bomber currently is pretty nuts, and it gets the kill there. AA tries to get it, does fail to do so, and with that, the protection of the SPW is gone, and there we go. GG. Greyhound does tap out, and Koch will move on to the finals and will face Hasta La Vista in a best of 5 there, which we will cover another day, as this was a great series. Koch getting the 2-1 here in the end, but Greyhound give it a real fight for the money. Great game number 1 from Greyhound. The other two were with some interesting shows as well, but here the early game just didn't go well enough for the matchup, and then fourth is just not in the position to deal with 79th in the long run.
Yeah, we should point out that the last game in both series had a blind pick, so they both players would basically pick the most versatile division that they themselves liked on this map. Or actually, did they know the map in beforehand? Surely they did know the map.
They know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
map,
of
yeah.
course. So, but yeah, the fourth moto does have the capacity to fight on Kryde, but not against 79th. Just I don't know, maybe just would have Greyhound, maybe just get a more expensive high-tech tank division and try to just tank fight your way into victory, even if you're not as confident in your tank
Well,
fighting capabilities. But what's done is done.
fourth motto and divisions like it can have success on Kryder. We have seen it before. It's just that you obviously gamble on the opener, and the opener didn't work out, and then it's pretty rough to come back on it. Like, if your forward deploy AA don't kill the helicopters, if the helicopters eat up your whole opening on one half of the map, then the situation with fourth obviously is pretty desperate, and that's kind of what happened here. So Greyhound there getting a bit bullied around by Koch's opener, and then yeah, fourth is just not in the driving force. If you get into the driving seat with a light division, you can still make it work on Crider, but that just didn't happen, and with that, the game didn't happen for Greyhound here. So GGVP, job well done by both players, and nonetheless, looking forward to see them in Division 1, because all semifinalists will show up in Division 1 next season. So that is going to be fun next year in Season 6. For now, we're going to end it here for tonight. See you all around. Gonna send you over to Bokon, who's playing some lovely Army General over there, so that should be fun. And yeah, see you all next time. Bye bye, and have a great